You need some more food?
Good morning. Oh, she has, what is that, a high chair?
Yeah, she's in it's like a little high chair that sits on the bed. So,
Uh,
kids, here,
Look at her. I
wait,
want one.
same time. Anyway.
Good morning, baby.
Morning, afternoon, and good evening. Anyway.
This is the closest I'm ever going to get to seeing a baby get raised.
Do you know how many? Yeah, that you had brothers and stuff like that.
Yeah, but they're all my nieces and nephews are grown now.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't around. My best friend, I stayed with him for a little while when I moved back to New Orleans, and he had like a 1.5-year-old. So I got to see her grow up a little bit.
Yeah, it's no matter how you feel about kids, like seeing them grow up is pretty cool. Even if I don't know, maybe it isn't. If the kids are shitty, I guess I don't know. All of my experience with kids has been very blessed. So, but I've had encounters with children that I did not care for. So
Yeah, well, she would be fascinating to watch. I mean, she is fascinating to watch grow up.
She's a really good kid.
Hey, Juniper. Oh, she can't hear you. Hey, Juniper. 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 Oh. What'd she say?
No, she didn't say anything. She just but she suddenly looked at the headphone. She was like, "Where does that sound come from? Where does that come from that for?" She was like looking at your face, but then the sound came from here, so she was like confused.
Oh.
She's just eating some snacks. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, it's been a. I don't really. You got anything? Any topics or anything to talk about today? Because I don't really have much myself.
I do have a couple, but this video just came across my feed and haven't watched it yet. It's something about the anti-Semitism on college campuses.
Cool.
And it's from the Jewish Institute of Liberal Values. So I want to take a look at that.
Sounds good. I haven't watched the Paul's podcast thing yet either.
I started watching it today. I got about 10 minutes in. The good thing about it is it's not all about Israel. That was just one little segment of it. So it covers a range of topics. So I think it will be interesting. All right, here we go with this video. Hotbeds of hate.
More than 1,400 Israeli civilians and abducted over 200 hostages. U.S. college campuses have become ground zero for anti-Semitic protests, statements of solidarity with terrorist groups.
It was exhilarating. It was energizing.
And intimidation of Jewish students and faculty.
Pro-Palestinian students rallied outside of the library.
They were banging on the door in an attempt to intimidate.
Please end it. They want our people dead. They want us killed.
This extreme sentiment has also taken hold amongst high school students. 51% of people between the ages of 18 and 24 believe that Hamas can be justified for killing civilians. Where is all this hate coming from? In the past several decades, radical social justice ideology has taken hold on the left that neatly divides people into oppressor or oppressed. In its binary classification of different groups, Jews are often deemed white and privileged, making it a perfect vehicle to perpetuate age-old anti-Semitic conspiracy theories about Jewish power. Conditioning young people to categorize Jews and Israel as oppressors creates a false binary that now leads all too many to support Hamas's atrocities.
To justify barbarity in the service of decolonization and the liberation of Palestine requires more than an ideological commitment to Palestinian freedom. It demands mental and emotional contortions that render a person fundamentally unable to see the humanity in a Jew. It requires a deep-rooted association with Jews and power. The Jew as oppressor, the Jew as victimizer.
Anti-Semitism permeates both the right and the left. We won't be able to fight it unless we counter the ideologies that fuel it.
All right, yeah. Pretty simple.
Yeah. I didn't know it was making its way into high school kids. This really seems like they're Vietnam. I remember I was born in the middle of the Vietnam War, but I remember all the youth rallied around Vietnam and anti-war and peace and love and all that. So this
Yeah.
seems like just they don't really know what they're rallying for. It's just a symbol or a concept to them.
Well, Summer of Love did start before Vietnam, though, didn't it? It was like that. It that took place in the middle of like the whole hippie movement, and then so that but that and then it kind of spread more from there because like then it had like this. It had kind of like gave it more of an animus besides just like drugs and free love kind of shit. I think from my understanding, but I could be wrong about that. I honestly haven't studied that part of history that closely. I've just seen movies and stuff that have gone into it, and it made it seem like
Well,
it was like,
the peace and love did, but the anti-war, I think, galvanized
yeah, that's what
the,
I'm saying. Like
the
the
peace
peace
and
and
love
love,
movement that was already there. But the peace and love thing is an ancestor to wokeness anyway.
sure,
This
sure.
is like the next iteration of what happened in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, I mean that checks out. I mean, I you know, I always feel weird about things like that because, like, on one hand, like, I support peace and love too, but I can't stand hippies. So,
I used
like,
to love like Hair was one of my favorite. Well, not the musical, but the soundtrack. I romanticized that whole era, and I they didn't have a lot of hippies where I was, but if I saw one or two, like Austin had a few of them, I
mm,
would idolize them. I would follow them around. They were like heroes to me. They were like something out of another age that I was so privileged to be in the presence of. And then I moved up here, and it's nothing but hippie. Like it's
yeah.
all the open here hippies, like former hippies, and they really get on my nerves. I'm like, how did I ever think these people were cool?
Well, it's the problem. The problem is that they aren't a monolith. There are quote unquote hippies or people that come from that idea that are actually really cool people that have like they're intelligent that aren't that think for themselves and aren't just like part of that thing. But there's the majority, of course, that are just like these kind of like NPC types that just kind of go peace and love and all that kind of stuff like that. That sort of like stereotypical hippie thing. Like a lot of people buy into the stereotypes, not the ideology anyway. And I don't know if the ideology is necessarily that good. I'm just saying, but I have met hippie type of people that like especially aesthetically they kind of like dress like that and they kind of have like that burned out kind of drug 60s drug thing type thing going with them. But at the same time, they were actually really cool, intelligent people that were actually actually made sense. It doesn't have to be one way or the other. It's just that it just that it majority of any group is going to be idiots. So
Yeah, but the majority is going to be idiots.
the majority of almost any group of people is going to be
Like
morons.
the bell curve.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I
Well,
hate that. I mean, I wanted. My whole life I tried to be. I was super optimistic about humanity and try to believe try to believe the opposite. But it's like barely a week or sometimes not even a day goes by without something reminding me that oh yeah, most people are actually that dumb. Yeah. When it comes to as a group, is that what was it? Even like Men in Black has like it's not a great. It may not be some great philosophical film, but it does have that really great scene at the beginning of it where he talks about that that a person is smart but people are stupid. That talks about it just that little speech that the Tommy Lee Jones gives Will Smith's character at the beginning of it, and but the reason that they keep the stuff
what
secret from
movie?
the Men in Black, like the dumb little
Oh,
like
I
science
barely
fiction movie.
remember it.
Yeah, I know it's not like anything too special, but there's a really good scene at the beginning of the movie where like the Tommy Lee Jones character is trying to explain to Will Smith's character the reason why the secrecy for the Men in Black organization everything's necessary, and I mean I disagree with that, but his explanation is really smart. He says that sure, sure a person is smart, but people are stupid. You get enough people gathered into a small enough space and they turn into animals, they turn on each other, blah blah blah, and it's a great little speech that actually and it that actually says a lot of smart things in it. The rest of the movie is pretty much just dumb sci-fi shit, but still it's a really cool little scene in that. But I always think back about that whenever i I have to like I'm confronted with that reality, like it doesn't even matter, like I mean even amongst our enlightened centrists, which thankfully our enlightened centrist movement as it is rather small right now. So it's not large enough to have a huge number, but there's morons in our group too. So there's morons in every group, and you can't deny, you can't like You'll never get rid of them entirely. You'll never have any group of all intelligent people,
Yes, you
even
have.
amongst
Yes, you do. I've been part of them. They're intentional communities of all
well,
intelligent
okay,
people,
like
and the
small
centrist
okay.
movement is
Once you
hitting.
get past a group, once you get past into a larger mass, is what I mean. Like a small group of 12 to even 20 people,
No,
yeah, you can have that
hundreds,
good.
hundreds.
Hundreds even.
Even Mensa has thousands. Not that they're all that intelligent, but the centrist, our enlightened centrist community is running into the bell curve issue too right now over the same issue in that video.
That's what I'm saying. That was my exact point.
But these are not unintelligent people at all.
I'm not saying they're unintelligent, but they can act, but they still act in moronic ways. They still can act or take moronic positions and stuff like that. I mean, they're not
Yeah,
unintelligent.
but I
Yes,
don't know why. Like if a smart person's taking a moronic position, to me, you could show that person through rational, logical argument why the
hopefully,
position is moronic, and they could see it, and then they could shift their position. But that's not what's
hope,
happening.
hopefully, it's unfortunately, I think it has like that effect of like when even with the most intelligent of people, if they take a position and it's also accepted by a majority of the people that are in their in group, and even if it's the wrong position, like it's very difficult to talk somebody out of that whenever it's accepted by a majority of the in group.
I don't
It
know that
happens.
that's what's happening here because I don't know that the majority of the in group. I don't think it's just the following of the herd. I think, and Paul even said this himself, that it's who do you trust? What sources do you trust to sense make on it? And he trusts different sources than I trust.
Right. I never really did get a clear answer from him what sources he did trust though. Where I think he mentioned one guy, like one particular commentator or something
Gabor
like that.
Mate, who I can't stand. I think the guy's a sociopath. Go watch an interview with Ted Bundy and then
Oh,
go watch an
yeah.
interview with Gabor Mate. It's that
No, yeah, I know
same
you're right now. I
hollow,
forgot.
dead.
Yeah, I understand. I
I've
didn't
never
understand. I didn't
I
understand what name you
encountered
said at the
Gabor
time.
Mate in my peer work. He does trauma work. So he did a movie and we've watched videos of him in trainings. And even then, he didn't impress me at all.
Yeah,
And so people that are like Gabor Mate, they're seeing something in him that I'm not seeing.
yeah. I've only seen clips of the guy. I haven't liked, but I didn't see anything from him that made me want to watch more. So,
He has no presence. He has more negative charisma than I do. Like on the he drains
you have
energy
plenty of
from
charisma.
me when I'm watching him on the screen.
You have plenty of charisma. That's bullshit.
So
But
sociopath shaming.
he is definitely. I don't know. I mean I remember I think I somebody on the Discord sent me a link to some video of his that I watched some little bit of it and I turned it off real fast. But whenever Paul said that name, I didn't recognize what he said. I thought I wasn't sure what name he said, so I didn't know what he meant. But like I mean but it's only one. It's like one source. If that's his only source for any of this stuff, it's or his only. I'm not even going by sources in terms of like people talking about it. I mean, like Zarathustra Serpent is really good, and I do appreciate him a lot. I appreciate like his viewpoints, and I appreciate the viewpoints of several other people I've listened to. But mostly, I'm just going by like by the most by looking at every possible like factual, at least as far as we can tell, factual news report I can find, like it from both sides, looking at left, looking at right, and just looking at like what facts does everyone agree on? What facts does everyone disagree on? Where are they? Where are the where are the one thing that we can all agree, the one thing it seems like everyone agrees on is that Hamas is the elected leadership of Gaza, even though it's not. I guess even though I just recently learned that it's not even really a state or a country
Well,
at all.
no, even then they say like the people living now. The last election was 2006 or something, and the
Right?
people
They didn't
living
elect
now
him.
had no voice, and so they'll shade it either way depending on what their
But it's
rhetorical
nonetheless
goal is.
according to everything on paper, they're still they're still the
Yeah, but
elected
according to
leadership.
everything on paper, Israel has a right to exist too, and that's one of the facts that nobody can agree on
Yeah,
either.
that's
And
true.
the Hamas Charter is another one. So if you want to talk about official things on paper, those are not the facts that people are building their narrative around.
All right. Well, I no, I wasn't talking about what people are. I was talking about like what I personally have built my opinion on is what the things I can say like I can look at like as many primary sources as possible and see that these certain things are true that Hamas did. I heard this like this argument I heard earlier once again on Rising was that freaking woman Brianna Joy Gray was actually like saying like she said it like the guy that Robbie as usual is pushing back on her, and she was like, well, it's they didn't even mean to attack the music festival. It just happened to be there. They've been planning this for years, and it just happened that they moved the
How
music
does
festival there
she
at the last.
know?
Well, apparently that's what Hamas's spokesperson said, because of course she
Why
believes
would
Hamas.
you believe Hamas? I just saw a
Right.
spokesperson come out today and talk about there's like an embassy from Russia coming to visit and from China coming to visit. And I'm like, that sounds like it could be true. And like Iran and China and Russia could be involved, but it's coming from Hamas. I don't know if I should
Yeah. No, I
just
mean, no,
automatically
I
assume
just
that that's what's.
the segment started off that clip. I think started going viral yesterday, day before, where the current Hamas leadership guy was on some news program on Al Jazeera television or something like that, literally saying that his actual. I mean, this was like it was plain as day. There was no room for nuance here. He literally said that they are going to continue repeating what they did on October 7th, over and over and over again until there are no Jews left. He says these exact words. There is no getting around it. And Brianna's response to this was, well, I don't think he really means that. I mean, obviously they want a two-state solution. He's just being hyperbolic. He like she'd like I mean all these she just make copium everywhere, making excuses. And as soon as Robbie comes back and says the thing that I just said, the about shit. What was the thing I just said before I got off on that? Like I was saying about the thing that she said that pissed me off was like that was it she was that and then she was saying but then 10 minutes later she was saying that how that according to Hamas's leadership they weren't even trying to attack the music festival, so she believes him explicitly like and implicitly on this claim that they had no intention of going and killing the people in the music festival. That was just an act, that was just like a half and cent sort of thing. It was, I mean, and really if anything for them, I guess really what they would see is more like a happy accident, because they gave him that was just a good opportunity for them. But she doesn't like she actually tries to like justify the fact that they did this to these people at the music festival by saying that, well, they didn't mean to do it like that. That wasn't the intention. It just happened to happen that way, as though that justifies it. And then on the same hand, and then in the same exact news segment, earlier on, she's like saying like, well, I don't think he really meant it like that literally. I don't think he's really saying that they want to exterminate every Jewish person. I'm just like, I don't even know. Like the level of cope that you have to like reach for that is it's immeasurable. I mean, like that is like this planet-sized cope. That is just
I
I
know,
don't
but
even
that's
know.
what they're doing. Like that's the contortions they're forced into on the left when their ideology starts like conflicting and devolving in on itself.
But most people experience some degree of cognitive dissonance whenever those sort of things, even if they find it
That's
and
what
they
I
think,
don't understand. Like you're talking about smart people, like
yeah,
but I watched this with the wokeness too, the George Floyd thing. I watched really smart people hold what is it like double think where you hold two
yeah,
contradictions at the same time and experience no cognitive dissonance. I've
yeah.
watched smart people do that for the last 3 or 4 years over the woke ideology. And I don't understand how they're doing it then. But then the smart people I found that weren't doing that are suddenly, some of them are suddenly doing it over Israel. And the two things, this is what I understand. Their argument is based on this interpretation of radical Zionism and the third temple and all of that. Okay, so you have the Hamas charter, which you can read, and it's very explicit about eliminating Israel and any Jews in that region. What are they reading on the Zionist side that's worse than what I'm reading in the Hamas charter that's making them think that this radical Zionism, it seemed like little sound bites they're picking here and there from certain politicians. But the Hamas charter is an official government document. Is there anything comparable on the Israeli side that's an official statement of the Israeli intent that's as bad as what I'm reading in the Hamas charter? I don't
And not that,
understand how the two are even remotely, even if radical Zionism is an issue on the fringe, where
yeah,
are the official statements of it from Israel, like
and
the Hamas charter?
and even if it exists, no one,
It's not even a
if
contest to me.
yeah,
I want to see what they're basing their, like, what they're deprioritizing Hamas for in favor of this radical Zionism. What documents they're basing that on?
What else did she say in this thing? She also said well, she really did wish that Hamas had the ability to have a proper military where they could do calculated strikes like Israel does. I was like, what the fuck are you saying?
This is
Like you're
Brianna.
yeah, this is Brianna Joy Gray. It's like literally saying like, well, they basically this thing they're doing the best they can because they don't really have proper military equipment. So I just really wish they were a properly funded military so they could fight back for real. And I'm just like, I mean, I can't even believe this is being said by actual people on American television. It's just like beyond like it's like it's so. So you're saying like a group that you on one hand you're constantly saying they're not really the government, they're a terrorist organization, they don't represent the Gazan people, but at the same time they also fight on the behalf of the Gazan people against the evil Israelis, and they're underfunded and they're really the underdogs here. So really it's really like it just really makes me sad that they don't have weapons, they don't have more war weapons to fight with. And I'm just like I don't even know. Like, it breaks my brain every time. Like I'm just
That's
like I
because
think
you try to make sense of that. I don't. I don't try
I
to
mean
make sense of somebody
I'm not
like
even trying to make
Brianna
sense of
Joy
it. I
Gray.
just listening to it,
That's what it
in the
sounds like you
background.
do.
I just listening to the background stuff. Like I'm not trying to make sense of it. I just hear the things, and I'm so surprised by how far they're going. Like I'm just that just surprises me. Like I would expect them like everyone's saying the quiet part out loud so much now
But
that
I watch the LGBT, mostly QT plus community go far with the queer theory too.
oh yeah,
Like
I know
I
I see
know the
that too.
extremes they will go to distance themselves and subvert Western
Yeah,
norms.
I just
And
like I don't know. It's
Hamas
fairly
was a terrorist
mainstream.
organization before they got elected. So the people of Gaza elected a known terrorist organization. So
I know.
that's not in dispute.
It would be like America elected the KKK to be president,
Yeah.
or we elected ISIS, right? You know. Yeah, I
Another
mean
thing I
like
noticed about that video is that when they said that the Jews, when they get power, then they become the white oppressors. And I was thinking of that's the same thing that happened with the gays after we got married. We went from poor oppressed homosexuals to members of the cis gays and white cis gays, and we were part of the patriarchy. Like almost
mhm.
the minute we got marriage and could assimilate, just like the Jews became white oppressors at that point, the gay people became cis oppressors of the patriarchy. And so this is a pattern that happens with this ideology. And I don't know what the line is. Like
Yeah,
the
I
goal
don't know
is to
where it
be at the
ends.
bottom, to be most oppressed because you have all the power, because you have, from standpoint of epistemology, you have the greater knowledge of oppression, the more oppressed you are. But then I don't know what the baseline is when you cross over it and become oppressor. And I don't know who
Acceptance, I guess.
determines that.
As soon
Is it a feminist baseline that sets it?
no, I think it's just like a public opinion type thing. I mean, it was like I mean, like I said, like whenever you had someone like whenever I mean, whenever people like the even people in like the conservative Christian church and the conservative Christian movements, even they like whenever like the gay marriage got like passed in law and stuff like that, my parents who they were never bigots or anything, they never hated gay people, but they were never pro gay marriage, but they just they accepted it. It was just like it was like okay, well okay, can people get married now? They didn't protest. They didn't like that. I never heard them say a single negative thing about it. And I haven't even like they haven't even like been, especially since my daughter she's not gay, but she's in theater and she's friends with a lot of kind of queer kids and stuff like that that are kind of like not like queer ideology kids, but just kids that are kind of a little different. And there's one kid that's kind of like socially transitioned that's in the theater group and stuff like that. And I think that just being around all that, just like that really my parents like they accept it pretty easily. And I think whenever I think that's that's really the thing, isn't it? Whenever everyone's moms like got on Facebook, that's when Facebook became uncool, right? So as soon as everyone's moms and grandpas got on board with gay marriage and gay people, that's when suddenly they weren't the cool people anymore. So as long as like you're still offending mom and dad and grandpa and grandma, then you're still the thing. As soon as that acceptance happens at that level, then people just kind of then it's like
There,
it's not cool anymore.
I know, but there's a difference between not cool anymore and an active oppressor, and that happened when we got marriage. and there
Yeah.
was no more purpose for the gay rights organization. So to keep the funding going, they had to have a new agenda.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And they adopted the trans and queer agenda, which was kind of waiting in the wings anyway, because it was part of the original gay movement. And that was different than just not being cool anymore.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, although once again, I still contend that like the trans movement never had the degree of oppression or hatred in general. Like I mean, I can't really explain why. People might have been a little weird or uncomfortable around a trans person here in general, but I never saw. And I know there was movies like Boys Don't Cry and stuff, and there were stories of people of like of bigoted people doing terrible things to people that were living as the opposite gender and stuff like that. I know those kind of things happen, but they were rare. And generally speaking, like I said, growing up in what ostensibly should have been a rather backwards, racist, bigoted Southern city, I never saw a single like I even asked like a couple of trans friends I had, like I even asked them because like if like they ever got if they'd ever gotten any kind of they said like okay I think one of Billy said he said the only people that ever call me faggot are my friends. So
Because the gay oppression was a political oppression. We were barred from
Right.
the institution of marriage, which was a legal institution.
yeah.
The trans people, they argue that
sodomy
they're
was
barred
illegal
from
in many
sports
states.
and restrooms, but that's debatable whether that's oppression.
Yeah, I don't believe it is either, but yeah, I think what's it like I said, like the sodomy was also illegal in like many states for
Yeah, but
for
they
a long
overturned
time.
that even before gay marriage.
I
That's
know.
why.
I'm saying.
That's why it never. When was Lawrence versus Kansas? I mean
Yeah,
Texas.
that happened in the 70s or 80s, right?
So I'm not afraid of this woke stuff. People just put their favorite pair of glasses on.
2003. So by 2000, we weren't even worried about sodomy laws. Never bothered me. I didn't
Because who
like.
was
They
going
didn't
to catch
bother
you?
anybody really. We did it anyway. But by
Who was going to catch you?
2003, once Lawrence versus Kansas, nobody worried about that
Well, I know,
anymore.
but I just don't understand. I don't even understand like how those laws were ever supposed to be enforced. Like where's like the sodomy police supposed to burst in on people having sex and being like, "We got you," like the Spanish Inquisition. Like nobody expects the sodomy police.
Well, yes,
Is that what was supposed to
they did
happen?
expect them to do that because they could do that in Spanish Inquisition. But right now, there's enough people in the culture says screw that, so the law doesn't get enforced.
I want to say something about.
It's a version of nullification.
I want to say something about this tweet from Cascadian David Duke because I was around for this. This was my state. He ran against a Democrat. I think Louisiana has this weird primary. So initially he was running against this Democrat, and the Democrat ended up losing or having to drop out or something, and that left Edwin Edwards, who was a crook, to run against David Duke. 2/3 of the state of Louisiana, this was 1992, in racist South, racist Louisiana, there's racism all over the 2/3 of the state came out and voted against David Duke back in 92 in the middle of the racist South. And the Democrat came out and encouraged everybody, even the Democrats, to vote for Edwin Edwards, the crooked Republican, over David Duke.
Yeah.
That's not what a racist state or a racist country would do. So,
Nope.
And that was way back in 92. So this is one reason why I don't believe that racism has gotten worse and is a national crisis at this moment. Because I watched 2/3 of my own home state come out and defeat it, 30 years ago?
Yeah. No, I mean, I can't think of a single like. I mean, like, even though people says that's the reason why anytime someone that people don't they don't like get elected, they start as soon as they get elected. Nobody really. I mean, there was like nobody really called Donald Trump a racist until suddenly he was actually viable as a candidate. Like no, I never heard one person the whole time he's on The Apprentice. The whole time, I mean, Donald Trump was in public view and public life for how long? I mean, that dude was on television since I was a child. Like he's one of the I still have memories from being a child seeing Donald Trump and things. I mean, like he's been part of like pop culture since I can remember.
Yeah, he was tacky and trashy.
Yeah, tacky and trashy, but never did anyone call him a bigot. No one called him racist. No one called him anything like that. Not until suddenly he suddenly made a splash in political circles, and suddenly
he made a splash and he registered as a Republican, and that's just a standard line to use against Republicans.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, but like it's just the easiest thing to spot whenever like they make it so simple to like figure out like what's going on because like I
Yeah,
mean if anyone
that's
who's
why they
really
didn't
openly
nail Trump for
racist,
racism. They nailed him for cutting corners, which you and playing fast and loose like you have to do if you're gonna do business in New York City. It's
yeah,
just literally the part of the culture. Everyone
yeah,
cheats on the space you have in New York City. It's part of culture. They got him for sexual abuse. Well, so that's what men in power do. They
well,
did.
I don't think they should, but yeah, I mean it does happen a
Well,
lot.
well, that's what women like.
Well, there's an ought, and I'm very much an is person, like Joshua. And the ought people, that's nice. I probably share your values, but I'm realistic about the world we live in. And
Yeah,
so
I'm
the,
a
I am
his
too.
person
I
as
am too.
well.
peace
I'm
and
just saying.
love and
I'm
humans
just saying.
ought not
I
to
don't
be
condone it
corrupt and
either.
ought not to abuse power doesn't have any real world meaning for me.
Yeah,
No,
It's
it
a
that's
doesn't.
what
nice
not.
little fantasy to make a Disney movie about.
Yeah, that's why I'm not worried about woke. It's just woke's just a brand name for people with sunglasses you don't like. Pre, pre, I mean, feminism and manosphere both lead to patriarchy because the women and men choose the same group of successful people over and over again, no matter which
That like
group you
human,
put in
even
power.
even apes in the jungle are going to choose high status males.
Yeah. So both branches lead to patriarchy.
So that's
Then it
not a
doesn't really make a
conspiracy,
difference who you pick.
not oppression. That's just humans.
Yeah.
There are a few just to be fair, just because I know I feel like Cascadian or maybe TCPS would maybe point this out, but and I've read about this recently that there are a few at least one that I know of animal species that do have matriarchal systems. I think hyenas are one of them, weirdly enough.
Yes,
But
Yeah, but
but
we're
that's because
primates.
real female hyenas are
We're
bigger
not
than male
clownfish.
hyenas.
We're not elephants. We're not
no, I
hyenas.
agree. I
We
agree.
have primate wiring.
I just felt like it should be pointed out. I didn't want I'm just like just because you know and Cascadian, please come on if you want to, man.
No, I was
Um,
specifically talking about the human species.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like primates and stuff like that. No, I agree. I mean, I don't. I think that I don't necessarily think that everything has to be patriarchal, but I don't think. But I think that's the way history has tended to
No,
go,
but
and it
but if
seemed to be
things
what's what
tend
works.
toward patriarchy because of our human nature, I don't think that's
It's bad.
a crime or a
No,
moral
no,
negative or a flaw in society or anything like that. That's
Yeah,
I don't
just
either. I
the
don't
because
either.
nature
even
of
the feminists pick the
expressing.
same tall, dark, and handsome men or pretty boys over and over again.
Hell,
They have more leverage.
even
So
the
it
feminist.
doesn't matter if you put the men in charge or women in charge. It's going to be the same group of people going to be
I
uh,
know every time women
in
get in
the
charge of my
front.
life, it gets worse.
Even the feminists pick the women that are more manly than the rest of the feminists. They always
Yeah,
pick the
then
man. They always
those women
the
pick
leaders
men.
of the feminist group are always the manliest ones. You never see a girly feminist leader. Never once.
Yeah,
You always see one that's actually more manly than probably most of the people in the stream here.
yeah. And those women pick men after that.
Yeah,
So it's with the same guys in charge of the
I'm
whole thing.
offended.
no, that's not. It's not. That, I'm not saying that. That's not a slight against us. That's how butch some of those people are. Some of them how
Yes,
butch
what I'm
some of
saying
those
is,
feminist leaders are.
yeah, and what I'm saying
Some of
is,
them have
even
more
those butch women
testosterone than
pick
I do. I'm
men.
just saying.
That when they have a choice, they'll pick a man to be the administrative stuff. It's gonna be the same freaking group of guys in charge of either system. It both leads to patriarchy.
And one thing I thought was a little bit weird about the Barbie movie is that there were, I mean, maybe I'm missing it. I guess maybe the president was, but there really were no butch Barbies. You know, there
Like
were no
Barbie
like,
girls,
yeah,
Yeah,
and in the Barbie
like
world, there was
no
no,
dyke Barbie.
yeah, there was no dyke Barbie. There was no girl that was kind of like, just like the girl equivalent, just a man version of a girl kind of thing, like you see in, like, and I mean, it's fine. People are welcome to love who they want, but I always think it's a little weird that lesbian relations usually have like one of them looks more like a man, one of them looks like a woman. It's like
Maybe
I thought
that's
the whole
coming in the sequel.
because I always think to myself like, well, if the thing is that you're attracted to women, then why are you with a woman that looks more like a man than I do? I just always think that's a little odd, but hey, everybody's different. I don't judge. Maybe they just like vagina better. I don't get. I don't. It doesn't matter to me. Sorry, I'm
little
trying to clean.
Juniper.
I'm trying to clean up the. Well, I gave her cookies, and so she is covered in cookie bits now. She has got cookie everywhere.
Well, you should be glad little Timmy is on Paul and Slave stream because I know he'll come up with something a smart aleck
Who?
response to that. And a guy I'm feuding with, he's the idiot who thinks he wouldn't answer my question whether USPS or FedEx is making government more money, in which USPS is losing the government more money. So there's no reason. If you hate the government, you should use USPS because it's wasting the government's money.
Maybe he doesn't know the answer.
What's
his
he
name?
probably doesn't.
Why does that matter?
FedEx is making the government money because they're paying taxes, but USPS loses the government money because they literally just there's a cost center because they're not charging enough.
I'm just wondering, is that really a feudable issue? Is it something to feud over? That seems like a really small thing to me.
Dude, this is the.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm doing it anyway. So it's small to you.
I get it.
I'm not you, so I'm gonna feud over.
It's just for fun then. Okay, I got you. I thought for a
What
second,
is this guy's name?
Timmy.
Timmy?
Yes.
Oh,
He's on.
I don't think
it was on
him.
Paul's and Slave stream right now. So.
Oh, I don't go on Paul's stream. That's the one everybody hates.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if everyone hates him. Turk does not hate him. Who else? It's not. I don't know. I don't know who everyone is.
Well, most of the streams I go on, they seem to be trying to expose him or talk against him. He seems to be one of the latest targets.
Yeah, but so are you. I mean, you were a target on the quiz because you were saying
about me.
So it doesn't really matter.
Oh, they make a little comment here and there about
who's been talking about us
associating with the gay Satanists.
I mean, I'd be honored to be.
They don't like making entire streams dedicated to debunking me.
Yeah.
Well, they don't make entire streams debunking Paul either. So
yeah, they do. They most certainly do because I've seen them.
They don't debunk them. They just smart ass remarks. It's just trying to generate content.
Well, then we must be watching different streams because I've definitely seen entire streams devoted to Paul Enslaved.
Yeah, but they don't. Yeah, but they don't actually debunk a damn thing.
Well, yeah, none of those streams are dedicated to debunking another streamer actually debunk anything. They don't really do anything at all except just bitch for hours.
Exactly.
I tried to watch Machine last night, and like that was the worst stream Machine's ever done, in my opinion. I really hope he fixes his stuff soon because it was unwatchable.
He's done worse.
I'm boycotting all panels that feed the trolls. If I see Tommy in the panel or Toilet Bowl or Smith or one of the troublemakers, I don't even go on the panel anymore.
So you're afraid of trolls now? That's just stupid.
No, it's not fear. It's not fear. I'm not afraid of trolls at all. That is not what I'm looking for. They disrupt the ability to have constructive conversations, which is what I like to do, and they ruin it for everybody. And this is my biggest criticism. I see such potential for community building with these streams, and those are the exact elements that if you let them into a community, they will destroy the community. You are not going to have a healthy community with people like Tommy and Toilet Bowl in it. And they don't let them in a little bit. They put them on the stage and they shine a giant spotlight on them and they keep them there for hours and hours and hours to where they become the centerpiece of the entire community.
Yeah. It's like nobody goes to their streams. They go on other people's streams and take over and just yell over everybody. And I'm sorry,
you're not. I know the type of community you could have if you filter out those elements.
There's nothing wrong.
So it frustrates me to watch bad community building.
Well, Chris, we have 3 watchers right now, so that's a really dumb insult.
Yeah, I've never seen this Timmy guy before.
Yeah, but that's a really dumb insult, Chris.
What do you mean?
We have fewer viewers than they do.
Yeah, we do.
But they also exploit meth heads and mentally ill people for the drama, the clicks and the likes, and I'm not willing to do that.
We are the mentally ill people. You and I, Jeff, both have autism diagnoses. So
yeah, but we're not. I hope you're not a meth. I hope you're not an addict.
I don't like meth, so no.
And a schizo that goes on crazy rants on stream all the time, or a troll like Toilet Bowl that's the people they exploit, because people will show up to watch. I was guilty of it too. I was sucked into that drama for a while, but I'm not doing that on my stream. In fact, we're losing viewers because of well, I'll get into that when he shows up, if he shows up. But we're actually losing viewers because of some of the things that happen on this stream. So I'm not willing to be audience captured, and there's certain tactics I'm just not willing to. I want a certain type of stream and a certain type of audience that appreciates and respects that type of stream. I'm not going to get that if I go down the same path some of these other streams are going down.
Oh, that's fine. I can respect that.
And weirdly enough, like even though our live viewer counts are typically pretty low, our post live viewer numbers are going up steadily. I mean, like granted, it's nothing incredible, it's nothing that impressive, but we hit an all-time high with weirdly enough the post the 7-hour stream we did with about after True Detective has our highest view count ever at
the one Friday.
Yeah, it has 86 views, I think, on the whole stream.
Oh,
I don't.
oh wow!
It has almost.
Well, that brings me to because we're also not promoting. Like, we're not going to all these other streams and promoting this stream. That's how a lot of people are getting their growth, is they're out there promoting. But that brings me to one of the topics I wanted to talk about, because I asked ChatGPT and Google Bard for some ideas on how to grow the channel. So I want to talk about those.
Yeah. Let's check it out.
I think I'll start with GPT and move to Bard, because they gave me slightly different suggestions. One of them is a consistent streaming schedule, which is hard for me. Like, if we could be on at the same time every day, which, let me look at my calendar. That might be possible.
I mean, like,
then people
right now,
wouldn't have to like find us and wonder when we're going to be on.
Right now, because I have no schedule. If there's days whenever you can't, I mean, I could always start the stream and you could just join in when you get there, or vice, things like that. It wouldn't have to be.
I want to be on the stream just for liability. If anything goes, okay. I want to be around to tackle it.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm free most mornings. Like, most mornings, I'm free except for PF Young on the weekends. But I could maybe do like, I don't know, like 1 or 2 or 3 your time every day.
I mean, we can try that. I don't feel like their lack of consistency in streaming schedule is what's holding us back. We just need more
but if we try it, then we can see the difference. We can see if it does make a difference.
Okay, I'm willing to give it a shot. Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to try whatever. I mean, yeah, sure.
Because if we can tell people we're on at 2 p.m. Central Time every day, 7 days a week, like, just maintaining that consistency might help. Anyway, that's one of the suggestions they gave. Engage with your audience, which I think we do very well.
Definitely.
Here's one where we could improve on: high quality content. That includes like investing in good equipment, good audio quality, video quality, etc., which I do plan to upgrade at some point when I'm able to. Catchy thumbnails and titles, there's potential to probably improve on those. Improve there.
Yeah, we could always, like, I did notice that, like, one of your if you go back on your channel and I look at like the channel that has the video that has the most views, not including the live streams, is going as one of your earlier streams from like 2 years ago. We did a critical theory discussion and a couple of other videos that had like different thumbnails and stuff like that did get, like, even those early days got like slightly higher view counts. Like, I don't think people are going back necessarily to the catalog now, but I did notice that I was like thinking about this last night too. Just like I was like going through the channel and just kind of looking at like what's different about this episode versus this episode, that sort of thing. I think the fact that just the fact that it said True Detective discussion probably in that video title is probably the reason it has more views than others, because True Detective is it's a popular show, so like it might come up in search results, things like that. So people might have like
start putting because part of the problem is planning in advance. Is I never know what the topic's going to be until after. But then when it's over, I can go back and maybe
you can always go back and edit it later.
Topics, like pick 1 or 2 topics and put it in the stream.
I know,
but some people do it like as the stream's going, they'll put a topic so people can but ours is so unpredictable. Like I never know. Even if I put a topic, it's not going to stay on that topic.
We can always.
And
we
then
can always,
the
like,
thumbnails, I've just been using. YouTube lets you use screenshots from the actual stream, and so that's all I've been doing for the thumbnails. But I'm open to fancy thumbnails.
I'll start trying to work on some. I've been getting adjusted to the medication stuff, and it's like I'll get bursts of really good focus for a little while, and then I get these horrible crashes, and it'll get better. It's just like right now I've been on a roller coaster, but I'm getting better all the time. My mood's improved enormously here recently, so I'm doing a lot better. So I'll be able to actually like I tried to sit down and do some photoshopping like day before yesterday, and I didn't get that far, but I did at least I got it far enough into it to kind of like refamiliarize myself with how the application works. So at least I never remember what the tools do now again. It's been that long.
And that is,
But
what is it? Mid-Journey and AI, that kind of stuff.
I don't know anything about how to use AI programs right now. I need to figure that out. Okay, so I checked out your link there, Hank. I see. So that's the person you're feuding with is this little shrimpy looking guy. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put this link in the chat. A friend of mine just created a prompt book for I think it's GPT. It might have some Mid-Journey stuff too. So if anybody's interested in checking that out, I think it's free on Kindle.
I mean,
okay,
I have some.
Yep.
No, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry. No,
No,
I
go
was
ahead.
I was just gonna say that I've actually been brainstorming on my own, like coming up with some. I've had some really fun ideas for stream stuff, but not really stuff necessarily that I think would work for this stream. So that's like more conceptual, maybe to do as like a side stream later.
You're
maybe a side stream type thing later. So like I wasn't gonna go into it right now. Just like I had some ideas just for like just some ideas I have for like I had some ideas I want to throw to a machine too about if he's gonna have the trolls on there. I have a few ideas of how he can deal with them better, where he doesn't have to necessarily kick them all, but he can actually make it where they won't want to come back. And I have some ideas I think might work with that. But I mean, we'll go over that. But yeah, let's hear the rest of these Chat GPT ideas. I want to hear what AI has to tell us.
Okay, and we're doing most of these really. Promote in advance, which I do. I announce your streams in advance in social media platforms to build anticipation, which I really don't get. I put it on Twitter and Facebook and in Discord, but I really don't see a difference in how many people show up.
Really, you don't? I feel like whenever there's some, I feel like at least I don't know. I guess it just depends. At least when it comes to people coming on the stream, I feel like whenever we have the links up there and the stuff, I think like the people, our guests and everything, we have more guests that come on than we do. Maybe not more viewers, but we have more.
You're talking about Discord? When we put it in Discord?
Discord and I guess Twitter and stuff, like wherever you put it.
I don't think I'm getting anybody from Twitter at all or Facebook. I had one Facebook friend that used to come in to hang out in the audience a little bit, but I don't, because I would know the people that come from Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah, you're getting them all from YouTube and Discord.
Discord, exactly. So
yeah,
maybe
Discord,
that's
YouTube.
Places to focus. Collaborate with others, which I'm always open to collaboration. So if anything, if anybody has ideas of you want to do some kind of stream together, let me know. Like Anton and I are doing that sex and social justice thing on Mondays.
Yeah.
Use social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, etc. But I really am not getting much out of social media. I've been doing it for months, and
my problem is that
I don't think I've gotten maybe one viewer out of all of it.
I'm terrible at social media. Lindsay used to be really good at it. I mean, I'm not saying she's not good at it now, but the circles that she ran in social media wise, she kind of like ran some trolley circles. So I don't think we'd want the social media people that she used to hang out with on Twitter and stuff like really getting much attention in the stream. I think it might bring the wrong kind of attention. She said the same thing. So yeah, so I don't think that's kind of thing. But she used to really she had a pretty sizable like Twitter following at one point a long time ago. For her Twitter account got deleted for something. I can't remember what she did. She I don't think she ever knew either. It's like it's probably an old tweet. Like she went through like a real trolley period where she said some edgy stuff, and I think somebody must have reported something really old or something like that. This is years ago, but yeah, I don't know. I've
I can't
never
even
been good at
break
social media.
1,000.
Was that?
I
Can't
can't
break
even break
1,000.
1,000. No.
I was over
I keep
1,000.
hovering at 980 something, 990.
I was over 1,000 briefly whenever whenever I was writing for Cracked, and I had like a few articles that like got millions of views. So like I had over 1,000 for a while, but I didn't know what to do. I don't I just don't have tweets. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I don't.
Twitter
I'm a
is
long
something like
I'm a long
you
form
have to
person.
spend all day on Twitter talking to Twitter people, just like you
Yeah,
do,
yeah,
just like we do on the streams. You have to spend that amount of time on Twitter.
yeah.
If you're not willing to invest that, then don't even bother with Twitter.
I mean, I was
Yeah.
And I used to do that. I used to spend all day long on Twitter. That's why I have the followers I have.
I just I never had I never had the motivation to do it. I never had I don't like Twitter.
Twitter is
Twitter
probably
makes me
just not your
sad.
platform.
You know,
It's
it's
not for
not.
everybody.
Yeah. And I didn't even register a Facebook account. I don't have one. I'm not going to get one. There's no point.
I only use Facebook for friends and family. I had deleted my account for a while, and I got back
I
on it during COVID.
I just use it to talk to my mom. It's the only thing I ever use Facebook for is talk to my mom. And occasionally, if I have like a piece of like I sold a piece of baby furniture thing that Juniper had already grown out of on Facebook Marketplace. It's the only things I ever use Facebook for. It's occasionally selling like a piece of like something that I only want to sell locally that I don't want to try to mail somewhere, and then they have that. So that's the only thing I ever use Facebook for because otherwise it's worthless.
No mom for me to talk to, so I don't need a Facebook.
There you go.
There you
Another.
go.
This is one we could probably do. They call it SEO optimization, but it's optimizing your video descriptions, putting tags and metadata for
Yeah.
search individuality.
I
I don't put any descriptions or topics really. So maybe
I
there's
used to
potential there.
I used to like I was actually trained in SEO but that was like 10 years ago, and SEO has changed so much since then. My SEO knowledge would be completely worthless, but it is you can do a lot with it, but it's really complicated. You have to like it's one of those things where you really have to. The reason why there's SEO experts or professionals is because you have to spend so much time like studying and keeping up with what SEO trends are what in order to be effective at it. That it's a full-time job just keeping up with it, and then you know applying that to other people's sites and then if those people like aren't paying you constantly to go back and keep updating it, then like those SEO tags aren't going to be good for they might generate some more clicks on something for a couple of weeks, but then the SEO algorithms are going to change, and then it's going to switch to something else. I mean, I'm not saying it's not worth looking into, but it's very
Well, I'm thinking
complicated.
just simple things like putting video descriptions and maybe some tags.
Yeah, sure, yeah. I mean, we definitely do that. We definitely just put some
And
tags in.
I'm horrible at tags. I'm from the pre-tag generation, so my mind isn't thinking tags. And even on Twitter, I leave them out constantly. I have to constantly remember to go back and put tags in.
Anytime I ever used tags on Twitter, I did run a Twitter account for a little while for a company for a startup. It was like it's just a side gig I had for a little while, and basically my job was just I made like 4 memes a week but I would just completely make up dumb tags every time. I never used tags that the tags were completely worthless because tags are only useful if they are keywords that people know and regular people are searching and I never had the desire to keep up with what was trending, so I just like would type in like I would just make up entire like crazy tags and you know it didn't I wasn't really this successful. So my graphics, my memes were good though. My memes were good and nobody ever gave them enough credit because nobody saw them. So
Yeah, there's a very limited shim where tags are effective. This just very small context.
yeah,
And if you knew them, you would always be using them. So it's
Like we could do tags like mental health,
yeah.
men's mental health, neurodivergence, stuff like that. Just really
yeah,
general tags.
yeah, that would work.
Philosophy.
We could always create a subreddit, which is like it's one of those things I feel like I say it as I say it, my soul dies a little bit.
Don't
But, you know.
maintain. This is not worth maintaining. I maintain subreddit, and I have control over one from a person that pretty much decided to make a few of me. I just stomped on it and just made it squeeze it dead. But Reddit's on its way out, so I'm gonna probably.
I wonder if Joe would
You think Reddit's
help
on its way
promote
out?
me
It's
on
still,
his subreddit.
Oh yeah, I would better off focus on Discord.
well, Discord's great, but I mean, it's not. But it's all private kind of invitation type stuff. You have to know.
Yeah,
Discord
Reddit
knows
has
you.
like the IDW Reddit has like 47,000 or
and like
97,000.
any subreddit that has any activity on all has tons of activity. There's still, I mean, you might say it's dying, but where the point it is at dying is still like, okay, if it's on that curve kind of thing, it's still like the peak is up here and it's here maybe, but it's not down here. It is still quite powerful in terms of like reach. I think you have a lot of reach on Reddit, but it's a lot of work to maintain it. It really is, and
How do you see?
it's very it's not very quantifiable in terms of like what results you're going to get from it, you know, like in terms of like it, I mean, like there's plenty of subreddits out there that people just use to trash the people who the subreddit is the subreddit community is supposed to be for, you know, like
The IDW has over 100K subscribers. So like even if
I'm sure Joe would be happy to help promote or I'll be happy to like let us promote our podcast on their subreddit. I'm sure. I mean, he comes on our podcast and everything. I see no reason why I wouldn't.
Well, next time I talk to him, I'll try to remember.
Unless there's some strict rules on his subreddit, they say something about like, you know, no self-promotion.
No, he promotes Ron. He promotes Ron's videos.
So yeah, I see. I mean, I would ask him. Anyway. I mean, just but at the same time, I can't imagine him saying no. I mean, then again, a lot of things have happened lately that I wouldn't have imagined happening until very recently. So what do I know? I feel like I don't know anything about anything anymore. So.
Well, I can give you on that.
The next one is stream variety, to mix up the content on your channel. Offer different types of streams or themes.
Done.
Like we talked about, like maybe having specific topics sometimes, or
we
also talked about that like Survivor game.
Yeah, no, we definitely talk about doing that stuff, and like, I mean, and those kind of things. I mean, I've heard two competing philosophies on this. There are some people that say that changing up, like, you know, variety is the spice of a YouTube channel, and it will keep people like interested in coming back. And there's other people that say that if you don't do consistently the same kind of content all the time, you'll lose viewers because like people don't want to see. They don't want to tune in to see the different thing. They want to see the thing that they tune in and expect to see. So that's like an apples and oranges kind of thing. I don't know.
Think there's room for both, because we have our basic, what we do well established, which is these live streams. But we can always do additional projects separate from this, but still keep these going. Yeah, I can make a whole different playlist if we want to do another type of stream. And still, if we offer these consistently at the same time every day, and have this be the backbone of the channel, we can still do other types of content outside of that.
We can always do the other thing we talked about doing too, is like doing like the master channel type thing where we.
Well, here's where I am on that. After seeing these streams lately with all the trolls, I don't want. We are not in the same place when it comes to community building and the types of community we're trying to build. So I'm gonna table that idea and try and wait until there's people that are more aligned with my vision of community before you do something. Like, you're talking about like a master channel, and I don't want a master channel with Illumitami on 6 of the streams all day long.
No, that wouldn't even be an option. We would still be the gatekeepers of it. It wouldn't be open to anyone. We would be the curators.
But the people we're talking about, every one of them or most of them have Tommy on constantly, or Tollable, or some other troll.
True. That's true. I mean, we would have to. We would need to create a council of YouTubers where we would get together and decide that we would have to come to some unanimous vote.
Right, and I don't.
Yeah, that sounds totally woke. You sound woke now.
Well,
we don't necessarily need a council, but we need to.
God, there's Steve Shice's block list. That's hilarious.
He's trolling.
That's woke, not democratic. That's not the same thing.
Oh,
we don't necessarily need a council, but we need to curate the membership to get the type of community we're trying to get.
Yeah,
and
that's not
I don't think it's.
How is it not wokeism? It's literally what they do. This is like Steve Shice's MO for 20 years. A curated list.
Well, if you're worried about me being woke, then you've wasted all this time getting to know me.
It's the same thing. You just have your favorite ideas, favorite people, and you have your curated
freedom
list.
of association is not the same thing as wokeness.
Unless it's the other people.
Well,
Unless
anyway,
oh, you don't agree with me, then it's woke. If you agree with me, then it's based.
I'm not canceling anybody at all. I'm not not include. It's the opposite of wokeness because the wokeness try to include everybody. I am purposely being
No, they
exclusive.
don't.
I only
They
want
have
to
their own
include.
block list. They have their own.
Well, you know what? None of this is a conversation that I'm interested in having right now. Anyway, you can think it's
I will say
wokeness
this.
if
I
you
want to
want.
say
It
one
doesn't
thing about
matter.
this. I want to say this one. I said the same thing.
If I'm going to make a web page and include streamers, I'm going to handpick the ones that reflect my values. If you want to call that woke, that's fine.
Well,
look,
so will other people you disagree with. That's fine. It's fine. But
it's
this
not about.
is
But this
stupid.
has nothing to do with Hank. This is not
Well,
about
then
people we
create your own
disagree with.
community and bring in
We
people you
disagree.
disagree with. That's not the type of community I'm trying to create. I'm trying to create a community of people with aligned values.
But that's not necessarily the case. Like we have people we don't agree with all the time. We don't agree with Rowan. We don't always agree with even Joshua. We don't agree with lots of people that we have.
You know,
on the
this
stream.
is a side tangent. I don't even want to go down because I want to get through this list. This has nothing to do with.
I had one important point I wanted to say. I'm just saying that what he's saying is that we're trying to censor people that we don't agree with, and that's not it. We're trying to get people out that all they do is just yell and scream and make a scene so that no one else can talk. That's all I'm saying. That's a different thing entirely. It has nothing to do with not agreeing with them. Go on. Sorry.
Okay. Like using stream analytics, which I never look at those. I don't even know how to use them.
I don't know how to use them.
Do the like and subscribe thing, which I hate, but remind people to subscribe and hit the like button. And then equipment upgrades.
Just put it in the banner. Just put it in the banner at the bottom.
I don't even want to do that. I just have this thing about telling grown people. I automatically like videos all the time and subscribe to channels I'm interested in, and
I
just have this thing about telling grown people to. It says, remember to constantly assess your progress, adjust your strategy, and keep your viewers engaged to foster the growth of your channel, blah, blah, blah. And then I think Bard might have a few. Oh, okay. So this is from Bard. Go live when your viewers are online. So finding the optimal time when the people that watch our stream are going to be available to watch it. And then adjust our schedule to their
to be honest,
viewing habits.
The streams who have the highest views on them have all been at night. I was just saying that last night. They've all been night streams.
And most of my activities are in the evening too. That's going to be hard for me to consistently do a night stream, unless it's really late night.
I understand. I'm just saying, but I was saying, like, in terms of the times that our highest view counts have been all night streams. That's when we've had the most engagement. But I mean,
I could maybe at 10 or 11 at night your time, I might be able to do one. I mean, we could do a day stream and a night stream and see which ones.
We can do both. I mean, if the day streams are more like these kind of like just conversational, like kind of political, like, you know, going over the events of the day type thing, we could make those shorter maybe. Just keep those like, you know, down to like, you know, I mean, we need to like put a time limit on it. I hate putting time limits and things like that, but not try to drag them out too long. But then do the night stream is more of like something like where we react to a movie or talk to like stuff like that, and like make them more like maybe, I don't know. That's just one idea. I'm not trying to dictate anything. I'm just throwing out ideas.
I wouldn't. We could try for a few weeks, like doing a day and a night, and then evaluate from there.
Bye, Hank.
Prepare in advance and share your streaming link at least 48 hours before going live, which I never do. I usually do it the day before, but we're on every day, so
yeah,
I don't think that part, the 48 hours, doesn't so much matter. Trailer and teaser videos. We talked about doing clips.
Yeah, no, I need to. That's something I need to. I've been trying to. I was working on Photoshop and Premiere. Like I said, day before yesterday, I had to go out and do grocery shopping last night, but I got so we finally got our food stamps back. By the way, that was a blessing. But anyway, but I had to go to grocery. But the day before that, we weren't streaming. I was working on re-familiarizing with Photoshop and Premiere and stuff, so I could start doing some clips and stuff like that. The hardest
Which I don't know if everyone knows this, but I have my channel set to make, you can enable it. I have clips enabled, So anybody can make clips of any of my content. And if you make
Yeah.
something interesting that you think we could use, just send it to us. Or put it on your social media or whatever. Create a live section on your channel to show upcoming and ongoing events. What does that mean? Oh, like make little trailers about what's coming up. Create highlight clips while the event is still live. What is that? I think StreamYard it was StreamYard or Zoom. They just rolled out a feature where you can
I think that's something you can do if you have like one of the
you
if you
can
have
like
created.
mark, like if a clip is happening live, you can mark it, and then when the thing's over, it automatically creates the clip based on
Oh,
where you
okay.
mark it.
I was
Maybe
thinking I
that
was
was
thinking that
Zoom.
I was thinking that was a thing that that you could probably do if you had like someone working as like a in a producer type role, you know, an editor producer type role behind the scenes that could like be constantly like, you know, someone who's looking like you know like Joe Rogan has like the Jamie or whatever that looks up the stuff online, so like that, someone who can sit there and like and adjust levels and keep everything going smoothly, and like be clipping stuff and stuff like that too. I guess I don't know. I don't really know what that means, but maybe it is a function that you can just do. I've never heard of that before, but it sounds like if you're actually doing the streaming or so doing the one talking, I don't see how well it would work to sit there and be trying to do a clip while you're doing that. But
Well,
maybe
no,
I'm just
all
not
you do is
I'm just
mark the conversation as having like, "Ooh, this will make a good clip," and you hit the button, and then
right.
when the stream is over, it automatically generates it.
Sure, okay.
Um, Build a community of followers. Encourage your viewers to subscribe to your channel and follow you on social media. We kind of do that with Discord. And I thought about creating another Discord server, but there's so many already, and they're all the same people in each one. I think it's almost better to just use the existing servers.
Yeah. That's the main appeal to me about doing like I said, like doing like a master channel type thing, was that way if we wanted to create like a different kind of show or something like that, it wouldn't just seem like it was just adding on to like this heap of shows to be able to keep up with. They can keep up with one channel, you know, because like because I feel like there's a certain amount of like stream fatigue I think that comes with all the streams stuff like that. I felt bad for TCPS the other day, but like, you know, like we were doing that movie and stuff like that. And like I mean, even if I hadn't been, I don't know that I would have. I mean, there's so many streams to keep up with it. I just only have so much attention to give in a day, and but at the same time, if it was like if there was just like a channel that I could go to that had like everyone kind of like, you know, the schedule and like the streams that have come out recently, and I could just kind of watch them, I think that would be it would just be a lot simpler. There's so many streams, and there's so many like you're
Yeah.
always mentioning ones I've never heard of. I mean, you were talking about like, you know, going on you talk about Jim
And I'm
Barber this that,
constantly
and
finding new ones too, so the
yeah,
list keeps growing.
and it's just
But I
I mean
normally pull up YouTube and it has the live ones listed first. So at any
sure.
given time, there's like 2 or 3 or 4 live streams going. I just see who's on when I pull it
Yeah,
up. But it's
once you've subscribed to them anyway. But like, if you just if you just
yeah,
went to like the browse tab and just look at live, it's just like it's insane. Like, there's like all these like there's tons of foreign streamers and stuff that are streaming in other languages and all this shit like that. That's just like it's like trying to go into like the Let's Play or the gaming section of YouTube too. It's like it's crazy. There's just like there's so many like Twitch style like, you know, gaming streamers that like I don't even know how you would even like what you have to do to differentiate yourself in that kind of space. I mean, we kind of have like we're already kind of operating as a small fish in a small niche as it is, so we kind of have a really decent foothold compared to. I mean, even Paul, who has a decent number of subscribers now. I mean, still only I think like the stream his morning show the other day. I think it peaked around 40 people live. So I mean, it's not like, you know, he's getting like massive, you know, live viewer numbers, but I mean, even TML gets like usually has like most of his videos end up with over 1,000 views total, but his live numbers typically peak out around like 60, 70. You know, like so like they're not like it's not like he has like not like any of the streamers in this space are like are just killing it in terms of live viewers, which I think is a good thing, honestly. I'm
yeah.
just
I
like
don't want Destiny level
yeah,
of
exactly.
audience.
I don't want 1,000 people at live watching live commenting because like because it makes the commenting it makes it almost necessary to have to like for people to have to comment to actually have to super chat or something like that. That's the only like kind of democratic way of separating. And I hate to make people pay to play like that. Because otherwise it's just like watching it's just like watching a stock ticker moving at 8 times speed. You can't keep up with it. You have no idea what you're even looking at. I don't even know how you're supposed to like respond or communicate with that. But but yeah, I think that I think so. It's not necessarily about making but I think like those post viewer numbers, like that adds a lot to. And like I was like I said, I was talking some with Jack earlier, and we were I mean we are just he was talking about maybe doing a stream tonight too, and I told him I'd go on there with him if he wanted to, and he said he wanted to do kind of a counter programming stream to kind of the thing that TML did last night, where he just like super engaged with the trolls, and I was like I didn't even comment. I didn't even get the comment section of TML last night. I didn't even want to be associated with that in any way. Honestly, I felt embarrassed for him. And I told this. I told him that I was like, dude, I felt embarrassed for you. I really feel like you're lowering yourself to DB's level whenever you you're getting down in the mud and just like getting yourself dirty with him. You're making yourself just look just as bad as he is. And like it's not good for anybody. It's bad for the stream. It's bad for your conversation. It's bad for the respect level you have. And maybe your viewer counts are going up, but I mean, who knows if those are even real? Like it's clear. It does seem like someone was clearly fucking with his subscriber number. Someone was buying him subscribers, and those subscribers are falling off. So we already know that's been happening, and it's
They were
probably
buying
someone like
machine subscribers.
yeah. At one point, a couple weeks ago, machine subscribers shot up to like
Is it?
over 1,000, and then dropped back down to 700
How do you
because
buy subscribers? That's what they were
bots.
accusing Paul of too.
You buy bots.
Oh, so
It's
they're
just
fake.
black.
They're not real people. They're just
Yeah.
bots. Oh.
There are Chinese phone farms or something they call them. They actually showed that there's that TV show Silicon Valley. Did you ever see that show? It was on HBO for a while.
Mm-mm.
There was like one episode that went into detail about like this there was like this rival company to their company that was beating them because they were employing this Chinese factory somewhere that just had like that literally like it was like this like shot of like it looked like kind of like the shot of like the warehouse in Indiana Jones. It's just like this massive like warehouse with all it was like people with like tons with all these cell phones like lined up on tables, and all the cell phones were all logged in just to boost like the subscriber counts for this one thing so they could beat this thing out. And like and there really are farms like that. There's bot farms like that exist where they will create and they do that so they can create real subscribers, right? Because you can create fake ones with bots. They're AI generated, but those get eventually flagged and deleted by the system. And like from my understanding, there's a YouTuber named Upper Echelon Gamers, and he went into a huge expose type thing. He's really worth watching, by the way. He's got a really good, interesting journalistic kind of bent on it on things. He started as a gaming channel, but he started getting into like kind of similar to like CoffeeZilla, kind of doing like scam, like kind of going to like crypto scam exposes and stuff like that. And he went into this whole like thing about this Twitter bot. I don't know what you call it. It's just like this Twitter bot network that he found, and he was showing how it's definitely a bot network and how there's no way it's organic and all this stuff like that. And you're seeing like the way that like a lot of these companies like they manipulate their subscriber counts and everything to make their influence go up so they have a outsized voice in whatever thing they're doing. And it's the same type of thing. So like you can really cheaply though, you can go on if you know the right people, apparently according to what he said, really quite cheaply you can go on and buy like a bunch of AI generated bots that will boost a subscriber count for a YouTube channel or a Twitter account or whatever you want it to be for. And it usually they'll get flagged within 24 to 72 hours. But for like a few hours, and sometimes like with YouTube, if you're just like short of that threshold to get your placard thing, you can get over that threshold and sometimes get your placard, and then even if it drops back off, you can. But then if you pay a lot of money, you can pay these really advanced bot farms that actually create individual accounts on phones and run the accounts, and like then apparently there's entire businesses. There's a bunch of Spotify scam artists that all they do is they create like weird AI generated music, and they create these bot farm things to listen to these playlists that they create of all this weird AI generated music all the time, and it generates like just pennies. It just generates pennies a play, but you multiply those pennies times 100,000 phones, and suddenly you're pulling in a few $1,000s a day off doing that. And like that's what there's a lot of people that do stuff like that. So that's what almost certainly was happening with Machine's stream a couple weeks ago. But whenever one of the trolls one of his trolls, not a fan, I'm certain it wasn't a fan, one of the trolls bought him a bunch of subscribers to make him think that he was doing better, and then like and knowing that they would fall off, and probably also hoping that he would get his channel banned, because YouTube has been known to ban channels for buying bots, for fakely inflating their subscriber counts. You can get permabanned, like channel deleted, no recourse. Like it happens to people. So
Well, you
that's
so you can
probably what
buy
they're gonna
bots
do.
for somebody else's channel.
Yep. I mean, it's a criminal. It's not legal to do in the first place. It's already criminal. So I mean,
But
yeah,
how can
why not?
YouTube penalize you for something somebody else did?
They would have to they would have to have reasonable suspicion to believe that you did it, I guess. But then again, when does the YouTube need reasonable suspicion to do anything? They take people down or don't, on a case by case basis, like all the time. They demonetized Russell Brand based on like those accusations that were put out. But that one chick that recently Sniper Wolf girl, she actually went up to another YouTube subscriber that had been like making videos about her, went up to his house and like knocked on his door and kind of like harassed him and stuff like that, and they didn't even do anything but slap and arrest her. So like I mean like like you can, it doesn't, YouTube doesn't really, they just kind of decide what they want to enforce and what they don't. They're not really all that egalitarian. They're very if something's making them money, they're not going to penalize it too hard, is what it comes down to. And thankfully, all of our channels, like right now in this network, are all pretty small. None of us are big enough to be major players. So like it's like a double-edged sword. On one hand, we're not big enough to get noticed enough to really get in any trouble, but at the same time, if we did get deleted or something like that, we don't have enough of an audience or a voice to push back and get anything done about it. So we have this double-edged sword kind of situation like that. But I don't think that I really, I did notice that TML subscriber count is up over 1,000 again. So I mean, I hope that's genuine. I hope he really does have those subscribers. Hope those are real, because like I do think he's a good guy, and I think he's going through a lot. And like I hope that I really do. I really want to see him do better. I just hate to see. I hate to see him like play into the troll so much, because like he was doing everything that Tommy wanted
But
him to
that's
do.
not going to change. Like
You don't
he
think
has a
so?
codependent relationship with Toilet Bowl and
I guess so.
EBT and all those other.
But he isn't. But like you were talking about earlier, he is an intelligent person, and but like you were just saying how YouTube
Yeah, but
doesn't really.
intelligence has nothing to do with emotional and
Okay, that's what I
psychological.
was saying. But you were saying that an
Like
intelligent
there's
person
plenty
shouldn't
of
be able to.
intelligent people that are codependent and in dysfunctional relationships.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I just like, but earlier you were saying that you thought that if a really intelligent person could listen to reason and change their mind, so that's where I was.
Well, I guess I was talking about a different crowd.
But I don't know, because like I mean, I don't
But
know.
yeah,
In
like
any case,
I would think he would listen to reason and change their mind. But there's some emotional factors that are interfering with that, and the same with what we see from the centrist in Israel.
yeah, no, it is. It's just with the centrist and Israel thing, I really think I think that's entirely. It's entirely just an emotion like appeal to like it's just the fact that I think it's just the fact that the Palestinian, or like the anti-Israeli media anyway, is so good at propagandizing and showing those pictures of like and talking about how the children are being killed and everything so much. Like I just don't think that any other country that's been involved in these wars has that level of machinery behind it. It doesn't seem like, because I never hear about that kind of stuff in Ukraine and Russia. I never hear about that kind of stuff with other conflicts and stuff like that. Like the stuff that's been happening with Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia's been attacking like one of those other countries over there, Syria,
Yemen,
Yemen. Yeah, right.
yeah,
You
the
don't.
way kill way more people than Israel or Hamas is doing.
Yeah, I know, and you don't hear about it at all, and no one's even
That's why it
seems
seems
to.
propaganda driven.
It's definitely propaganda driven.
But it
I just
just like seeing really intelligent centrists fall for propaganda, which I've fallen for propaganda before too. So I know.
yeah,
I mean,
me
I know
too.
what it's
Me
like.
too.
I'm not immune to it,
Me too. I think
but
when
it's
someone like,
still.
it's so frustrating. Yeah. I think with Paul, I think if you were to point that out to him, to point out like look at what's happening
I
in Yemen.
pointed it out like
Yeah,
7 or
I
8
know.
times.
Well, I know, but he didn't really answer it. But I think that if he were to answer it, his answer would just be that, well, he condemns that too. But it's like, then why are you condemning this so much more? Is the real question. Like, why do you care so much more about this than that? Then,
Right, and I
if
want to
that's
see because we
worse,
talked about sources and which sources we're working with and who you can trust. I want to see what he's looking at outside of the Hamas charter that's overcompensating for what's in the Hamas charter and swinging him in the other direction. Because the Hamas charter is pretty damning to me. I don't know how
Yeah.
anyone can read just that single source and decide that they want to be associated with anything
But-
even adjacent to that.
But Jeff, don't you know they amended that charter like 2 years ago, and now it doesn't say as
But
bad of stuff as
they
it used
didn't
to.
change the exterminate Israel. They amended
know
it to
they
say
didn't.
it's
I
not
know.
it's anti-Zionist, not anti-Israel, which that's the point that all
know.
the people are parroting anyway is anti-Zionism.
I know. I'm just like that's the thing I keep hearing from people. I was just making fun of that. I just feel like, but don't you know they changed that charter 2 years ago? They no longer say half that stuff anymore. They're not as anti-Israel as they were. Like, come on, they still say they want to exterminate all the Jews. Wait, like they didn't change the one worst part. They changed the part where they changed the part where they said
And
something about
in
where
fact,
they would
okay,
accept
I'm
the
going to
two-state
put in the
solution.
chat. Zarathustra Serpa did a whole video on the revised charter and examining it to see what the
I watched
changes
it.
were.
I watched it just
I'm gonna-
after it autoplay after I watched that one about Kyle Kalinske the other day. Whenever you said I watched it
It's
again.
half an hour. The new Hamas charter. I will post it in the link for everyone.
Totally worth watching. Because I really, even though he is an Israeli, and like some people say, well, he's an Israeli, so he's biased. Like, people could say that, but I really don't think that if you listen to
But
the
I
way
trust it.
he,
Like he and Crocoduck have an entire YouTube channel, a body of work of very intelligent analyses of wokeness, social justice, science,
Absolutely.
philosophy. I trust their intellect. They've demonstrated their intellect in other areas to a degree. They've established their ethos for me. David Bernstein, who helped found the Institute for Jewish Liberal Value, they're the ones that put out the video we watched earlier. I have been on podcasts with him. I was part of his Hold My Drink podcast for a little while. I know him enough personally from doing podcasts with him to trust him. Like, I trust his research. So I'm using sources that have demonstrated their credibility to me, either on a personal level or through their body of work.
Does he still
And
do
yes,
that
they're
podcast?
Jewish. Yes, some of them live in Israel, but that doesn't make me not trust their ability to analyze and articulate the situation in an intelligent way.
Does he still do his podcast?
Huh?
Does he still do his podcast? I mean, we should go on there
Who?
and talk to him. The guy you talked about. The guy said
No. Hold My Drink got folded into. It's the Institute for Liberal Values.
Okay.
It's a separate organization. Jennifer Richmond was mostly the one doing it, and she's doing something with the Institute for Liberal Values called the Dissonance. But let me see if the Jewish Institute for Liberal Values has a podcast. I would love to get him on.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, I'd love to talk. I mean, I'd love, for that matter, we ought to send a message there to the servant too. I'd love to have him on as well. I think those would be great people. I'd love to talk to either one of them because they seem like really intelligent, awesome.
He just did a podcast recently with Wilfred Riley and is it Charles Love or the other guy? Anyway, like some popular centrist people.
Hi, Somewhere in Time. It looks like you said missed your stream Halloween.
Yeah, he does have a
update.
podcast. The Jewish Contrarians. Here, I'm going to put this in the link too. Making meaning of the attacks on Israel. So he has a whole podcast.
So yeah, if you really have a
Hey,
connection with him,
somewhere
we should
Halloween.
reach out to him. We should reach out to him and see if he would come on here, go on there, like do a guest trade type thing. I love to do this thing on things.
I think he should go on Paul's. I think Paul is the one he should go on.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm going to say this, and I don't want, and it's I'm saying it on the internet, it's specifically because, and I shouldn't say on the internet because it's not nice, but at the same time, I'm feeling. I will say that it's entirely from a petty place, and my feelings are hurt because they didn't even contact me about their about their podcast. Like, I really no, seriously, it kind of bothers me a little bit. I have talked to Paul many times that wanting to get together and do an in-person podcast thing, and the first time he doesn't. I mean, like it's not like he could have at least mentioned it to me or something. And John didn't say anything to us either, and he's been on our podcast a bunch of times. And it bothers me a little bit. It's just like because and even whenever I tried to jokingly call them both out, and they were just like, haha, man, yeah, whatever. I don't know. I just like and honestly, after the thing, I'm not going to go into it. Like, we were, you know what I'm talking about. But after like the thing, that little thing with Paul, I just I don't know. I'm less invested in Paul and his stream at this point. Because like I don't even feel like I can go in the comment section anymore. I really don't. I don't understand I don't understand what I've done, but I don't feel like I can go in the comment section. So I
Well, what
don't
makes you think you
think.
did? That is a story you are telling yourself. It's out of your head. Just like whatever they think about you is something they're telling themselves inside their head.
Okay. Well, I mean,
But just
how so? I mean,
change the story. Like there's no way to verify it. So just tell yourself a different story, or take an
okay.
action.
Well, that is probably good advice.
Like you have no idea what is in any of their heads. I mean, I agree. I can
I
understand it bothering you.
I
That
mean, like
part I do.
the exclusion from the podcast thing isn't
But the
really it.
whole
But that
narrative around it, there's no way to verify if that's
yeah, no,
actually what.
that's and that is true. But the exclusion from the podcasting doesn't really bother me that much. That was kind of more of an annoyance kind of thing. Just kind of like the fact that like you didn't even say anything to me. I feel a little bit like a slight, but it's probably not. They probably just didn't think. They probably honestly didn't even think about it. So I don't really it's the other thing that honestly that like that's the reason why I feel that way is because like I seriously like, I watched the morning show the other day, but I really every time I started to make a comment, I felt like should I make this comment? Like I don't even know. I don't even know what I should say. And I felt really. I just I don't because I don't want to. Um, it's not like I don't want to upset somebody. It's just like I don't want to hurt his community or anything like that or whatever he thinks it is. So like I just don't. I just makes me feel like okay. I guess I'll just like I'll watch the show I guess, but I don't know what to say at this point. Like it's a really strange place to be because like it's an odd situation and I don't know how to deal with it really to be honest. So
I
I don't.
normally I was in a community. Well, I was a very active member for a while, like probably over a year,
Mm,
and I got timed out for one of my comment not by the host but by one of their mods, but the
mm.
host like backed them up and supported, and I didn't go back to that community. Like that, it totally ruined my ability to continue participating in that community. That's why I'm so anti censorship. I know the effect that it has on expression.
It wouldn't even bother me if I understood what it was what I did that
Well,
would
that was on you to ask. Like I said, I would have asked, but
yeah, you're right, and I should have, but I got flustered instead and didn't engage with it properly, and that's entirely on me. That is entirely on me. I take full responsibility for that. I mean, and honestly, I mean, really, if it bothers me that much, I should just reach out to him and just ask him. But I don't. But I feel like at this point, I feel like it's just gonna. I don't want to create drama, so I don't know what. I should probably just create the drama, right? I should probably just like engage and face it head on. That's probably the best thing, the most healthy thing to do, I guess, right?
I think in a liberal society and in a centrist community, you can use open dialogue between adults
You're
to
right.
resolve.
You're right. You're right. That's what I'm asking you for advice. That's what I'm doing. I'm asking you for advice. I am literally because I have been, it has been bothering me for like it really because
If
like
it
that's
bothers you
what
that much, then I would say yeah, like
yeah.
resolve it somehow.
Well, I didn't even know I didn't think it bothered me anymore until the show the other morning and then I was kind of excited to go in and say hi to everybody and then I got on the I started to say something and I just kept like stopping myself and like well, should I not like what did I
Yeah,
it's like I
it's
didn't
impacting your ability to participate now because you're so
yeah.
self conscious about what you're allowed to say and not say, and you don't understand like what message you were supposed to take from that. So get that clarified. What stream somewhere the vibe is that can't roll on that level and not be affected. That's how I feel about so the streams with Tommy and them on it. Like there's so much potential for like healthy, positive community and really constructive conversation. And then Tommy shows up and hijacks all of that because they let him. And Tommy's just a stand-in for, we're talking about PF Jung. He's a different Paul. I know if you're talking about that other Paul, I don't watch his stream, but I don't even know who he is really. But I hear everybody else saying similar things. So whoever this guy is, maybe I should check him out one day and
I mean,
make my
I saw
own.
it for a sec. I saw it for a second. Like whenever Hank put that link up there, I guess I must have made Hank mad earlier.
Oh
But
yeah, okay. I'm gonna watch that after this is over and see.
but like the few seconds I saw, it looked very similar to.
But P.F. Jung is a centrist, and he's to me he's definitely worth watching. So
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna stop
don't
watching it.
hold the other paw against him.
It just made me sad. That's all.
Did you ever hear from Anton or John about the gender foe?
No, but
Oh, okay.
I messaged him while I was out at the grocery store, and whenever I didn't hear back, and that was on
I'm
Wi-Fi
really
there.
bad at reading like social, like nonverbal and social cues, but in the past, when the communication doesn't kind of flow actively, I that's usually a sign to me that I'm not as high in their ranking as other people. So like if I try to communicate with someone and I don't hear back, I often take that as a signal that just leave them, like I'm not in their
No,
I'm
then
not
that's
as
okay.
much of their circle as I think I am.
But this wasn't that. Like, what I didn't hear back anything, but then when I got home, I looked and like the messages didn't send. So like they didn't send, and like it
Oh,
was already
okay.
late.
So they didn't get them
So
in
that
the
was
first
yeah.
place.
Like I mean
Okay.
like and anytime I've messaged Anton a couple of times in the past. He's always gotten back to me, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's like the next day. So I don't think he doesn't just stay on Discord all day long. So I don't think it's like
Yeah, which is a
j-
credit to him.
yeah. And I think John's been traveling, so even if he'd gotten him,
Yeah.
there's the baby back there. So I wouldn't have been surprised or offended if they hadn't gotten back to me that right away anyway. But like yeah, I like the message didn't send because I wasn't unstable. I wasn't on a stable connection whenever I sent it. So it was not anybody's fault at all. But like I mean, John and Anton have always been super super cool with me. I don't think they've never said or made me feel in any kind of weird way about anything. So, and that, for that matter, I mean, even yeah, I've even like anytime I've communicated with Rowan, he's always gotten right back to me too. For that matter,
Yeah.
I've sent Rowan a few messages before. I sent a message the other day whenever I can't remember what show that we were doing that, but I was like you should come on the show for when that one last one he showed up on, and yeah, he got right back to me and came on the show. So I mean for the most part, I don't feel like I've never felt that kind of since I got kind of involved in this community, I've never felt that. I mean, I've never felt like I don't feel like I'm like super important or anything. I don't think like I'm like a key member or anything like that, and that's fine. I don't want that, or I'm not after that really. I'm just saying, but like I don't feel like I'm like some super important person, but I've never felt like a some second class citizen or anything like that. I've never felt any that kind of shit. I just like I think that my main problem with the one incident was just that I am confused about it, and and I just need to clear up my confusion about it. Once I'm not confused about it anymore, I'll be fine. That's like that's like a trigger for me. Like
I
whenever
know,
like
me too. Confusion is I tell people this all the time. That is the most painful emotion in the world because
yeah
it's a combination of frustration and disappointment. So it's actually like two emotions at once,
okay
playing out at the same time.
she can say what
And I know that exact feeling you're talking about. I hate
yeah
it. It
yeah
it messes. It plays with my head more than any other. I can handle anger,
hmm
grief, sorrow, but confusion absolutely does a number on my brain.
Yeah, especially it's like yeah, if somebody just comes at me like with open aggression or something, I mean I'm not a fan of it. It's not like something I am like I'm happy about happening, but I can understand it. I understand because usually that the anger is usually being communicated. Now, if I have no idea what they're angry about, that's a different thing. But if it's like if I did because like whenever that happened, I thought I knew exactly what it was about, and it was about something completely different, and that's the reason I'm so confused. I was like because I did make a joke that I thought that even though I think it was very funny, I think it was probably not a nice thing to say at the time. And so so I understand. I would have understood if it had been that or something, or even if it had been something like, I don't know, even something I'd said on this podcast or something, and like like I don't think I've ever said anything negative really to that degree. But like if somebody had been mad at me for something, they're welcome to like to like face me with it. I don't have a problem with I've been a manager of a bunch of different places and stuff, so I've dealt with a lot of confrontation. I've dealt with kind of confronting employees over. I've had to fire people and stuff like that, so I know what it's like to deal with someone who's angry and or angry or sad or even like or disappointed with me or any of those things. But like whenever you're faced with something where like you just can't quite figure out like what's going on, you don't understand like why it's happening. Something is happening, but you don't know why. That is the worst thing. And like that's the way. And it also triggers me a lot because that's the way the last couple of years of my life were prior to recently,
Mm.
like before everything. That's where I was in a state of confusion for 2 solid years of just being like
Oh my
what's
god, I
happening.
can't tolerate it for like 2 days.
Dude, I mean, it was hell. It really was hell. I mean, every single day, I was just like, I would wake up every day, just like thinking. I kept wait. I literally, I mean, it sounds like a joke, but I literally would wake up most days thinking that I was gonna wake up from a dream. Like this whole thing had been a dream. It had that level of illogic to everything that was happening in my life. Made me feel like this must be a dream I was going to wake up from. So like I was going to wake up and I was just going to look around and be like, oh, that's right. None of that was real. But then when it continued, it wasn't a dream. I would just be like, I would look for meaning in like in so I would look for meaning in things that you don't look for meaning in, like I look for meaning in video games. I look for meaning in YouTube videos. You look for anything, just like anything you can grab onto, and it's really like, so it's not as bad as that, but just feeling that feeling of confusion at all for even for a minute, just like I think it sent me into a slight spiral a little bit, a lot more than I wanted to admit. I thought I was more emotionally mature or grown than I wanted than I was giving myself more credit than I guess I deserved at that point. That's
Emotional.
okay.
Someone taught me once. Emotional maturity is not stable and fixed.
It's
It
about
it
it's
can
a, it's about it's about learning to recognize it, right, and deal with
like
the
we're
things that
never.
like
It's not a state that you reach. Like any state of emotion can appear at any time, and I guess it's fluid, is what I'm saying. So like there's
yeah
emotional maturity. You can revert to any prior state of emotion at any time for any reason, and so the idea that you reach this state and suddenly things don't affect you the way they did 10 years ago or something
yeah
is kind of a myth. That's
it
not
is a
how
myth.
emotions actually work.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's just it's such an easy myth to like trick yourself into believing too, because like it's not the first time I've fallen for that line. It's not like something someone gave me either. It's not like someone told me this or something. I just at some point became convinced that I would eventually get to a point where I would be able to deal with everything perfectly and then nothing would bother me anymore. It's
No,
just like
yeah,
it's a fantasy. It's just like it's an absolute fantasy. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I did. I've even had the realization before that emotional maturity is not about like just dealing with everything perfectly as it comes, but about being able to recognize when you're having those emotions and feeling and figuring out ways to deal with them instead
yeah.
of just like instead of just ignoring them or pushing them down. And that's the thing that I have to remember, and it's just yeah, it's just learning. It's just a learning process. All of life is a learning process. It's easy to forget that. It's easy to forget that no matter how good or mature or old we are, that we always have something to learn about ourselves and about how to deal with things. And sometimes that can be hard to accept, though. Sometimes you really want to think that you're better than that or bigger than that, and we're just not. There's a great song from a great song I grew up listening to. This band called Jimmy Eat World, and the chorus to it is just like you're not bigger than this, not better, not why can't you learn? That's the chorus just repeats that over and over again. Like that song is like plays through my head all the time.
Huh.
It's called Lucky Denver Men if you want to check it out. It's a good song. Come here, kiddo. Come here, kiddo. That's the things I gotta teach my kiddo. I gotta teach her about not to fight her emotions, but to whenever you have them, you gotta learn how to deal with them, right? You gotta learn how to deal with her emotions. Yeah, mom. She's got mommy's Switch game case, and she is
Switch game.
yeah like a Nintendo Switch.
Oh,
One of these
I
things.
don't know what that is. But
It looks
oh,
like
okay.
this. It's a little video game. It's a Nintendo video game system,
Is
and
that a
it's
modern thing or
yeah.
from the
It's
past?
it's the
Oh.
well. I mean, it came out like I guess 6 7 years ago, but it's the
I
most.
am video game illiterate. I know
That's okay.
nothing. I know Atari. They had a joystick and had a little red button. And I've seen Nintendo.
I grew up a video game kid. Whenever I was I guess 2 or 3, when I was like 2 or 3, my dad, it wasn't me that got it. My dad got it in television, which was a very Atari era video game system for Christmas, and then like the following year we got our very first PC, which was a Tandy 800. It was the kinds that were like the MS
Oh
DOS
yeah,
or
that's
MS
what
DOS
I
ran
learned
on a
on. And you
diskette.
had to program everything in BASIC to
Oh
use
yeah,
it.
yeah. And like, so, and if you want if it was a game or whatever, it came on
You
like
have to load it up with a cassette tape.
oh no, that's a Commodore. Like this was these were
No,
all
the
floppies.
Radio
They were
Shack
floppies.
Tandy.
They
We
had
had them
cassette
at
tape.
school.
They had a cassette tape
It
one.
was like a cassette, a separate standalone cassette recorder, like a portable cassette recorder. You'd hook
Huh.
up to it,
We
and
never
you'd
had one
have
of
to
those.
play the cassette to load the game. It would take like 30 minutes. Like
We never.
Eliza, the therapist was
Mhm.
on cassette. And if you wanted to talk to Eliza, you had to load the cassette and play it all the way through before the
Huh.
game could. Zork.
Oh yeah, I played Zork. I never we never had the cassette
Well,
dispenser.
maybe
I
they
didn't know
made a
they made those.
floppy version afterwards, but the ones we
Probably
used
so.
in the 80s, this would be like 82, 83.
Yeah, it was
You had
80.
to,
I think we got it in 84, 85. So yeah, Tandy
maybe they
800. I
came
don't
out
know.
with, because I know everything went to floppy at some point, but for a couple of years, everything came on cassette tapes, and you had to play them on a tape recorder into the computer to load the game.
I know I played around with Commodore 64s before that have that cassette tape mechanism. I think it's so weird. And you know the strange thing is that magnetic tape is still to this day the most dense possible storage. Like you can store more data on, I can't remember how much it is on like a one of those large on like a reel to reel thing, those reel to reel like those giant reel to reel things. One reel of that can store more data than like you can store like 8 petabytes of data or something like that. You can store insane amounts of data on it, but it all has to be sequential. So it's only good for backups. That's the reason why nothing runs of those things, because you can only use it to back up things like exactly as like a record of it, but nothing can read and write off of it, so you can't run off of the tapes. That's like, and like I learned that like a while back, and like I just like, that blew my mind. Like that not for computer code. No, yeah. Anyway, yeah, but so yeah, no, we got the computer whenever I was like 4, and so I didn't television when I was like 3 that I didn't know how to play yet. I was only 3, but
Oh, I
and I
remember
so
that.
but and then we had the Tandy when I was like 4, and I remember the very first game I ever had for it. My parents got some educational edutainment game. It was like a Winnie the Pooh game, and so I started learning computer stuff when I was very very young. So I was pretty much like I pretty much was born at the dawn of the computer age. So I've seen computers grow from like what they were then to now. It's crazy. And I played games off and on like my whole life. Like whenever I was a teenager, I was in Texarkana for 3 years running. I was the Blockbuster World Video Game Championship Genesis champion. Um, 3 years running. I won it 3 times. So I'm very very
Oh,
proud of
what years was this?
it. I don't remember the year. It was like 90, 95, 90, like 94, 95, 96.
This was
Um,
Sega Genesis?
Sega Genesis, yeah.
No.
They would do these they would do this competition thing where you go into the store and it had like it was like a tiered like tournament type thing. You play against somebody, and then like whoever won played the next type thing, and so on and so forth. And I won it 3 years in a row. What you won was I never got good enough to go onto the regionals, but I won the local one, and you just got a free year of video game rentals. You got like a video game rental a week for a year, so for as a kid, as a teenager, that was like the greatest thing in the world. Um, that's how I managed to play video games pretty much, because we were pretty poor growing up, but I saved up like lawn mowing money and stuff to buy Genesis, that sort of thing. So I was very happy about that when I was a kid. But so I played video games a lot growing up, and I've kind of kept up with them somewhat. But like anymore, like I have the latest gaming consoles and stuff, but I don't. Every time I turn them on, I feel immediately like depressed by them. I don't know why.
Oh,
I don't know what it is about it. I just like the joy that I used to get from gaming. Like this, what did you want, baby? Oh, okay, okay. 1 second. Yeah, the joy I used to get or at least not even necessarily the joy, like the distraction slash entertainment value I see out of video games. I don't know. I've gotten to the point where they're very boring to me anymore, even no matter what they are. I've tried to play several like recent games, and I just kind of like, because for a little while I was gonna do I was gonna do like some let's play streaming and stuff like that, trying to start some streaming back before everything went to shit a while back, and then and I was still playing games then, but I still play VR games if my Vertigo wasn't so bad, because I still like playing Beat Saber and stuff like that, but I just can't do it for more than I managed, like, when I was at my parents' house, I managed to do it for about 10 minutes before I got sick. So that was cool though. It was cool to play it for a little bit. It was fun for 10 minutes anyway, until like I got so dizzy I fell over, and thankfully I was smart enough to position myself right against like the bed, so no matter what happened, like if I fell, I just fell straight into the bed, you know. So it was all right. Ugh.
I gotta pee. You think you can keep the show going for
Oh, I'm sure I can. I
30,
mean,
45
well,
seconds?
we've got our our thousands of viewers. I know they're going to be.
Yeah, there's hardly anybody here. You and
I
Juniper
know
can
they're.
keep going. I'll be right back.
All right, man. Hey, Jennifer. Entertain the millions of people watching us. Entertain the masses. Hi there. You see yourself? You see that? Who's that? Who's that? Who's that? That's a Juniper. That's Juniper in there. Yeah. She's like, how am I in there, Daddy? Say, I'm right here. I can't be in there. What do you got to eat there? You still got one of those snap peas? Yeah, you like those snap peas, huh? They're good. Let's see, do we even have anybody watching right now? Guess we don't. It says we have 2 people watching. Who's out there? Who's out there watching? If you're in the comments, like, say something. Speak to me. Let's communicate. And Hank, if you're out there listening, I did not mean to offend you or something, man. I wasn't mad at you. I simply just don't agree with the idea that quote unquote censoring, as you were saying, or gatekeeping out someone like a Toilet Bowl Earth or a Illuminati type figure is censoring them. I don't think it's censorship at all. Like, they're allowed to come, they would be perfectly allowed to come and speak and be civil, but they refuse to be civil. All they want to do is yell at people and cause disruption, and that's the only reason. So if you're out there, Hank, that's just know that I wasn't mad at you, but I just don't agree with that position. I do not
Oh,
think that's
he
censorship.
went to that channel. He link Paul whatever.
Oh, okay.
When he where he's fighting with Timmy, that's where he is.
Okay.
Oh my God, Jack Nazi caught. Somebody made a parody account of Jack.
I guess I apparently
That's
according
another thing.
to
People really hate Jack. Like he's on everybody's target list for some reason.
well, according to, like, I've only seen him on a few panels and stuff like that, but like somebody, maybe that was a panel that you were on too. I think it was like our show the other day, that where someone was talking about the fact that he gets kind of he can actually get pretty angry and stuff like that, which is so weird because he seems like such a calm, like
Yeah, I've seen
like,
him get
Zen type person.
impatient and testy with people, but I wouldn't call like it's Jack's version of anger. It's not
Oh, okay.
anything close to what I call anger.
I thought it was like Jack or somebody saying that, like, he can actually get get super pissed and like he'll yell at people and throw them off street
Well,
or
he
something like
did at
that.
Tommy. But I didn't blame him. Like I think he needed to
Yeah.
get more angry with Tommy. He kept letting him back on.
I don't understand what this obsession is in this community with like, if someone's gonna just come and be disruptive, there's nothing wrong.
I don't understand. I don't either.
It
If you,
doesn't make any
like I said,
sense.
if you were having a party, that's the people you would be calling the
Yeah,
cops to come and kick out of your house. I
exactly.
don't
Or like
understand why they get the couch and the whole living room, and you bring them snacks and drinks and cake, like except for its content. Like maybe their numbers go up or something. I don't know.
well, I mean, okay, for the streamers, I
There's
can see that, but
nothing
I'm saying,
interesting about Tommy. You can walk outside on the street and talk to 100 people like Tommy. They
I know,
rant and
yeah.
rave about nonsense, and they're angry and aggressive, and they talk over everybody, and they're hypersensitive, and they turn every little thing into some kind of slide against them, an emotional drama. They're always the victim.
Like I said to
He
somebody,
pulled
I
an
said to
assault rifle out last night and showed it off.
yeah, I told TML in Discord. I said to him just the other day. I said, look, it's like anybody is welcome to go into Walmart, but if you go in there and start harassing the customers and the staff and start making a scene, they're gonna throw your ass out. like, and that's not like Walmart's not censoring that person. They are simply removing a disruptive element. It's just like it's not even like it's like you don't even have to like Walmart. You don't have to be on Walmart's side. You can just say that yeah, that guy needed to go. He was like getting in people's face and screaming at them for no reason. Like there is a point where it's not about there's nothing it's not like I don't want to you just don't want to hear his views. What views? They don't give any views. They don't
No,
say
he doesn't
anything. All they
have
do is yell
coherent views.
things.
Like there's some people have a soft spot for him, and like the only thing I can think is maybe they see part of themselves in Tommy. Maybe they were former addicts. Maybe they were troubled or something. I mean, I was a troubled kid too, but Tommy is definitely not my
I mean,
representative.
like I said, I have seen Tommy be civil. That's the only point I will give him is I have seen him be civil on
I
on
have seen
TV.
I have seen Toilet Bowl be civil. I have seen every
See, I've
single
never seen
one of
that.
those trolls be civil. That does not negate
Okay,
the hours and hours and
no,
hours of hijacking a stream with their nonsense.
I'm not saying it does, and I wasn't trying to say that. I was just saying that for me, from my experience, I have seen Tommy be civil, so I can see that. Okay, so maybe he's capable of it. He's not doing it, so still, like he needs to
And
go.
even being
But
civil doesn't
TV,
give you the right to hog the whole stream for hours and
it
hours,
does not
even if
either.
you're
No, it
civil
doesn't.
doing it.
No, absolutely. And I don't. I
And
thought it
part
was
of it
just
is my limitations, my failure to understand the appeal of somebody like what does he add to anyone's stream? He
hmm
doesn't even make sense when he talks, and he goes on
Yep.
forever. He's like I've worked in inpatient mental health.
Yeah.
After a while, they lose the entertainment value. If that's what they're exploiting him for, that only goes so far.
And after and not just the fact that he doesn't really have much to say, but like anything he does you can quote unquote say he has to say, it's all he has to say is like these is like a few of like the him and TB both like just repeat the same ortho bro like talking points like over and over again. I mean I hear snippets of that in between the incoherent screaming, but yeah, it's just like I mean it'd be like going into a mental it's like going into a mental ward and just like and going and saying like and hearing all these people like screaming about like the bugs in their head or something like that, and like just wailing and stuff like that, and being like, oh, I think these people really have something to say. Like we should sit here and like and observe them for a while and see if like we get some wisdom from it. You're not going to get anything from it.
Well,
These
you know
people
what? That
are
only
in
helps
full on
us.
psychosis. What's that?
The people that only helps us because the people that want actual conversations can come
Yeah, they
here.
come here, and then they do, and that has helped us. We have had some really good conversations because of that. Because we've had people even tell us that that's one of the things that has attracted people to our stream. I really hate that what happened with the other day, but I still don't fully understand it. I guess she did answer back like what the about that it was
Yeah,
that,
and you
but
don't
still
have to
I
say it on
no I'm
stream,
not
but
saying it on stream. I'm just
I'm definitely
I'm
gonna
alluding.
next time I see him, I'm definitely gonna talk to him, let him know
Yeah, I really do
because
wonder
I
what
got
it
to
was
watch that.
specifically.
I really do. I'm not a misogynist, but the channel could easily get a reputation for that with some of the conversations we have on here.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, like, I certainly don't. I certainly don't think I've ever said anything. I mean, I'm pretty
No,
compared to.
it's me and
I'm pretty pro
Joshua.
women,
It's not you. I don't think
but
anybody would. You might be guilt by association.
I guess so. Because like well, like I said, the weird thing was like he was actually being nice though in the comments, which is really strange. Like his comments, like that in the comments, like I was looking at
And he
reading the
said a
live
few
chat.
things that he said a few things in the
Maybe I didn't go back
comments.
far enough. I only looked at the end of it. I didn't take the time to like go through and like I didn't rewatch the whole stream. I just kind of like scanned through it, trying to see like if I could find like what was the
No, if it I didn't even have to question it or ask. Like after that stream, I definitely understood right away
oh,
why
okay.
and that it was justified. There's nothing I could say to defend it.
Okay. All right then. I'll just take your. I trust you. That's all I can say because I don't know. I couldn't pinpoint it myself. But I guess if you know what it is, then you also know.
I mean,
the
do you
person better than
listen
I
to
do.
what he says about his wife and the way he
Yeah,
talks to Emerald and the
it's just.
He-Man Woman Hater Club? And
I mean, he is right. I mean, I didn't even realize it was from the Little Rascals myself, but like he's literally referring to the Little Rascals thing, and everything like that. He is being. I honestly don't think that he's actually that much. I think it's an act. I really do. But I think it's getting to the point where it's getting
but
boring too. It's getting old,
but
and it's
even
just
the
he needs
act
to tone
can
that.
really turn. It's like a comedian, like Andrew Dice Clay. That was an act too.
It's
But there are lots
yeah,
of people that would never go to an Andrew Dice Clay show because they found him so
absolutely.
repulsive.
And that's exactly, and that's I was just saying that that's what I was saying to Lindsay just the other day. Like that's exactly what he is. He is like doing an Andrew Dice Clay. I was like he's like a combination of like Andrew Dice Clay and Rodney Dangerfield and like maybe like some old Richard Jeni kind of stuff. It does used to do some stuff like that, like the '80s and stuff like that. It's like that, like they all did that exact kind of shtick, like to the point. I mean, almost. I mean, some of his jokes I think are actually old jokes from theirs. So I mean, like I don't. I mean, if he really is at all serious about any of that, then yeah, he's a psychopath that needs to be locked up. Probably. I mean, then we probably shouldn't be having him on our stream at all. If we believe that he is half
Well, he
crazy,
is our resident sociopath. I mean, he's pretty much
I know, but I
openly
mean, if
like
he
owned
actually
up to that.
if we're taking any of like the stuff he says about his wife, the women, stuff like that, at all seriously, then we should probably not have him on stream because like that would we if we're taking I'm saying if we're taking that seriously at all, then that does not put us in a good light to have him on the stream. But in generally, when he's talking about policy, he's talking about all the state. I mean, he's so valuable. He's such a valuable resource, and I do think he's funny occasionally. I think some things he's funny, but when he goes in his rants, his anti-woman rants, I kind of tune out. I just kind of like, oh, here it goes again. But you know, it's not like I mean. It still has comedic effect. I've just heard it all before at this point. You know, I don't like I don't give it a lot of credit, and he does, and he won't like just talk over everyone. Like at least when he does it sort of thing, he will stop and let other people speak and stuff like that. So like there's that, and that's the other reason I think I tolerate it as much as I have. I'm not really defending my own tolerance of it or his behavior. I'm just saying that like I do understand the reasons that psychologically I haven't reacted as strongly to it, but I do think something has to be said now. So, which I hate when things get to that level, but
Well, I mean, I'm sitting up here complaining about Tommy, and we have the same problem on our own street with our troll.
yeah, I don't think they're. I mean, they are in the same. Those are in the same quadrant of thing, but they are not this. They are not equivalent though. I do not believe, and I could be maybe that's my blindness on that, but I do not think it's equivalent because he doesn't really he only takes over the stream to the degree that we allow him to like and we have reined him in before, so it's not like and he doesn't just scream at people and it's not angry. He's usually doing it as jokes, and it's like he's trying to be funny even if it isn't funny. He's trying to be funny, like Lou and Tommy, TBE, they're not trying to be funny. They're just screaming obscenities and like calling people the n-word and the f-word and everything else just to get a rise out of people. That's a much different thing. I mean, he
Tommy
doesn't
is
do
pure limbic brain. He's operating out of raw meth induced.
is that the thing with him? He's supposed to be a meth head.
Oh, I'm
I
pretty
don't know.
sure. Yeah, he actually talked about it last night.
Oh.
He looks like
didn't-
like that's what I said when I saw him on camera. He looked exactly like I expected him to look after hearing him rant and rave behind his avatar.
I wasn't on that. I only looked at machine line. I only went to machine lines for a little while, and I kept turning it off and going back. Cause like I just couldn't. It was TB every time I turned it on. And I just like, and finally, whenever I went back and TB wasn't there, it was like machine had backstage himself, and Jack was gone, and it was these four guys that I don't know what they were about, but it was some guy that sounded like an old prospector. I don't know I don't know if it was a character he was doing or what, but he sounded like an old prospector. He sounded like, oh well, back in my day, kind of thing. It was really weird, and like I mean, he kept
Oh, was it
talking
the
about
guy from Tennessee?
maybe so, but he sounded. I mean, but it sounded like I mean, I've met people from Tennessee. This was like a cartoonish Tennessee accent if I've ever heard one, and he was talking about somebody named Linguini and all this stuff, and I was just like, what is going on? And but he was arguing with some other kid that just sounded like he was like, I don't know why that kid was even there because but apparently. I guess the thing was that the prospector guy was defending Tommy, I guess, or something. I didn't stay long to find out. I just I heard enough just to be like, I was out. I was like done. I went to bed. I was like I was not going to. I saw no reason to waste my time spending any more time listening to that shit anymore. Awaken with JB. What is this TCPS?
Yeah.
Hey man, what's up?
How's it going?
I'm sorry, you threw me with the new name there. I recognize the avatar. So
is this a new channel too, or just the name?
It's not a new channel currently. Anyways, how's it going? I
don't think you should abandon TCPS. I think it's a good brand. I really do. I gotta tell you, I think it's a good brand. But I mean, you do what you need to do, man. But I think that I think it's got a nice flow to it. Like, it's easy to say TCPS and also Trad Culture Preservation Society. Even if it would make a good band name, even if it wasn't a channel. It was it's a really cool sounding thing. I think you should you shouldn't just delete it all. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. Not telling you what to do. Just giving my opinion. Not that you asked for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking about options, I guess, currently. What are you guys talking about just now?
We were just gossiping about all the trolls
Yeah,
that
we're
show
just
up on the
gossiping.
streams.
We're like, I'm literally sitting here doing laundry like a housewife, talking to my gay best friend, like talking gossip about other people in the community.
Yeah.
I just realized that. I'm sorry, that's hilarious. Anyway,
I was thinking
yeah.
something happened the other day, and I was thinking about you, but I'm trying to remember what it was. It was something like technology and the modern world, because I grew up with certain types of technology, and technology is changing now, and it's less easy for me to learn, and I'm not as adjusted to the modern world as I was in the past. And so that feeling of and capitalism, like I've never been adjusted. I've never figured out how to like crack or assimilate myself to capitalism at all. And so it's that feeling of the modern world is one thing and I'm a different thing that's more in the past.
What kind of economic
And
system
I
would you
don't
be able
know
to?
how to make like I'm never fully going to be a cyber digital age person. I know that. But I don't also don't I mean as tempted as it is to go live in the jungle, and I've tried that like a few times. I also don't see that as a viable lifestyle either. But I definitely understand the feeling of not being able to fully assimilate to modernity and having some kind of traditional pull.
Well, the thing is that what we're living in right now is just totally unnatural, profoundly unnatural. It's not. It's as natural to us as the zoo is to like all the animals that are forced to live in the zoo.
It's
We're
partly
listless, we're
natural to me,
miserable.
but it's becoming more less natural or intuitive as it advances. But I mean, I grew up with television and telephones, and that was all technology we took for granted. And then we had VCR and CD player and all that. So it that all seemed natural as a kid. It just seemed like part of how life always was.
Well, it seems natural, but it's not. Again, like living in a false reality has its effect on people, and it has this effect on all creatures. Creatures that are animals that are raised in the zoo. To them, the zoo life is natural, but it's not, and they are maladaptive, and they do show these maladaptive traits, and these maladaptive tendencies. It's just simply the modern style of life is just not what humans are built for. Is not what we flourish doing. We don't flourish in the situation that's been handed to us, and we didn't necessarily even flourish in the traditional agricultural society either. Again, all this stuff happened far sooner than humans could really adjust to it, and we're not at peak capacity in terms of our ability to have an adaptive, happy, healthy culture, and we haven't been for a very long time in many parts of the world. And this is shown by the fact that we just believe things and we think things and we do things that are just maladaptive and wrong and false. And the chief of the falsehoods is the notion that is this idea of the progress narrative, that somehow we're progressing, somehow we're moving towards something better. We're not moving towards something better. And that's a cope if you think that we are.
I don't think
Why?
we're
Why
moving
is
to
it a cope?
something better. I just think we're moving to something different.
Moving to something different, but that is something that's a devolution. It's a destructive force within the human mind that the human
I think
mind.
some people are going to adapt to it better than like. Yes, we are built a certain way, but we're also adaptive. And so, like there are people that do thrive under capitalism and technology and the cyber age, and they way more
No,
adaptable.
there's not really
I'm just
people
not
that
one of
really
those.
thrive though. There's people that like make money and gain power, but that's different from thriving. Like to be successful in the modern capitalist system is not actually to be an adaptive person. It's not actually to You're still in the evolutionary mismatch, and no matter how much money you end up making, it's still going to impact your well-being, and it's still going to impact the well-being of posterity. Like, nobody really actually succeeds, even the people that seem like they're succeeding.
Explain that. Like, what do you mean? No one? How in what way can you quantify the statement that no one actually succeeds? Because like I can't say
Everybody
that I
still
agree.
ends up in the evolutionary mismatch. Everybody still ends up in the world that the human species is not adapted to. And even the people that are quote unquote adapted, really, they're not actually adapted. It's simply that they're rewarded by a temporary environment that's completely artificial. But
How do you
that's
how do you
that's
define
that's only
how do you
that's
even
only
define
going
adaptation
to
then?
that's only going to work as long as the artificial environment sustained, which will not be much longer based on, all the problems that are inherent within the artificial environment itself.
How do you define adaptation then? Because I feel like maybe like I'm misunderstanding, or when you're saying adaptation, I feel like I'm understanding a different meaning of the term than you are
I
then.
would say a lot of it has to do with resilience. It's the ability to, be able, like at a cultural level and at an individual level, it's being able to survive, you know, even under like tough, harsh situations. And I don't think that there's much of anybody. I think that there's very few people that have that level of resiliency right now. We're extremely self insufficient people. We're totally dependent on this prior technology that exists. We're totally dependent on the system as though it's always
I
going to be
definitely,
there, right?
I definitely need my hot showers.
But do you really need them, or have you just grown accustomed
Yes,
to them?
it would be very, very like if I went on
Well,
Survivor or something and we couldn't shower, I would still do it for a limited amount of time, but I couldn't do it as a permanent lifestyle without some way to have the level of cleanliness I've adjusted to. And that's just one example. I'm sure there's other things I couldn't do without books. I probably couldn't do without my music or internet access so I could live stream.
I mean, I'd prefer not to live without those things. I could. I don't know that how happy or how happy I'd be about it. But I mean, I could. I mean, I have lived with those things before. I have been homeless before. So I mean, I've lived without quite a few
We
inconveniences in my
understand that
life.
like
So.
being homeless in American society is different from being, in a pre evolutionary mismatched society entirely. Like being part of the
Sure,
underclass,
sure.
being at the bottom of a highly structured hierarchical
Sure,
society is different
I
from.
mean it in the modern sense. I'm talking about the modern sense. I mean, yeah, I know we could argue the semantics of like the original meanings of it. I mean, in the modern sense, but I mean, I do understand what you're saying. I do understand that like being homeless in America today is certainly a lot less, horrific than probably it would have been in an older society.
No, no,
I guess
I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying that being homeless in modern American society is far worse, way worse than being, a member of like some hunter gatherer society. I'm saying that like
okay.
to
Well,
be to that that
how would you be
I,
homeless in that society? You'd have to be exiled from the tribe in that
yeah,
case,
you
right?
would, yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. Like in a society like that, living at a low state of like material um advancement is not a problem at all. Homelessness being part of the have-nots, being part of the group that loses basically in the modern system is infinitely far worse than being, a member of a materially simple people.
Hmm. I mean, I'm not saying like I do understand your perspective on that, and I see your points. I just don't know that I agree that it's a I agree that it's a very different. It's a much to me. It's like the different. Trying to think of like a good analogy, but it's like there are certain types of things or certain types of like even I try not to use a technology based example, but like yeah, there are certain things that are a lot simpler and it makes them easier and makes them a lot more scalable in some senses, but at the same time they're very limiting. Like I feel like living in like that kind of a hunter gatherer tribal type society, while maybe simpler, while maybe people would be quote unquote happier in the same way that a dog is happy, but I feel like you're ultimately like there's very little opportunity or chance for any kind of real innovation, any kind of real any art, any kind of like anything like it kind of limits you on a it limits the scale. I mean, like yes, in the world we have now, it invites much greater risk for every single person that lives in it, but it also has greater possibilities, in my opinion. I'm not saying that I'm right. I very easily could be wrong. I just that's the way that I've seen it for a while. Because like I mean I'm not exactly thriving in capitalism either. Okay, I'm poor as shit. Okay, I have no money in my bank account. I live on food stamps and everything else. Like I'm not saying that like I'm doing great in capitalism. Like modern world's great. I'm just saying, but at the same time I do see that like I mean yeah I see the point of like if I was in a hunter gatherer types a tribal type system or something like that. Yes, I wouldn't be facing the same kind of issues I am now. But is that trade off? Is that trade off something that I would ultimately would even want? I don't know that it is.
Well, again, though, but the problem is to sort of artificially just say that expansion, moving forward technologically, culturally, like this idea that that is necessarily the greatest good in itself. That's something that needs to be proven to me. Like I'm not of the opinion that to advance to the point where now we have a bunch of, I'm going to use the example of modern medicine, right? The fact that modern medicine is advanced to the point where now we have adequate ways of treating all the diseases that modernity created. I don't really see that as being a win. I don't see like the fact that now we have more diversions, distractions, and possible solutions to problems we caused is superior to just having a society that didn't have those problems in the first place.
Are you saying there are no diseases that we have cured or we've come up with solutions for that we
No,
did
I'm
not
saying
create?
that in the long run,
I'm just asking. I don't know.
basically most of what modern medicine has done is it's been trying to eradicate diseases that civilization's medical advancements have been attempting to control diseases that civilization itself caused. Like there aren't very many, the number of pathogens, the number of diseases that were out there before we became complex, civilized, hierarchical states was quite low. And really, most of modern medical advancement has basically just been civilization trying to undo the damage that it did in the first place. And I don't see that as being superior to just not having done that damage in the first place.
I see. I see. What I think there's a really interesting conversation here. This is something that I find it's really because I find it really interesting to talk to someone who's on the basically I see the same thing you see, but I see it from the opposite end of the philosophical spectrum. I kind of see it as what I consider the Eden problem. I look at this is something I had a realization about a long time ago. To me, there's a really big problem in the concepts of Christianity and most religions, where like there were in almost all of them, there's some form of an Eden type scenario, right? There's a paradise where people were created and everything was perfect and there was no disease, there was no death, there was no hardship, and there was like and everything was perfect and everything was in harmony with nature and God and everything else. And then there was a temptation that comes into place or something like that. Some sort of rule was broken, and they were expelled from Eden, and therefore they had to be and therefore everything got hard. Like as in the Bible, it's like like women suddenly, I guess, even though there's no mention of childbirth before, like childbirth would be painful, and suddenly there was death and there was famine and there's all these things. So and the which kind of makes it seem like whenever you're looking at Christianity, there to me there's a big problem in that philosophy, because there's this idea that the ultimate goal of Christianity, spirituality, no matter what religion it is really about an attempt to not to obtain a forward perfection, but really we're just trying to get back to where we started. Like we fell with this idea of the fall. We fell from grace, and now all of humanity's struggle is trying to climb back up to this primeval, or not primeval, but this primordial state where everything was at one with itself. I tend to have the and I I had this realization with this a long time ago, that I see that problem, or that philosophy, and I think, what's the fucking point? I think that it seems hollow and facile, and and just like I don't understand. Even if that's the case, I don't want to be a part of it. Kind of like I have no desire to be trying to climb back up a ladder towards some sort of like nursery, basically. Because Eden and almost every myth that uses something like it is essentially a nursery. It's like a place where humans are kept almost like in a zoo, like you're saying, and like they're kept very happy and very perfect,
No,
but
no.
they're
You see, my point is the opposite. My point is that what we are now is we're now in a zoo, and
yes, no,
that's
I know,
why we have trouble. My
I know,
point
I'm
is
getting
that
there.
we need to be out of
I'm
the
getting
zoo.
there.
That the normative state, which is not Eden. I'm not claiming that there was like some time when
I
there
know.
wasn't death.
I
Like
know, I know you're not. I'm not saying
the
this exact thing. I'm talking just like an underlying philosophical type thing. I'm getting there. I'm getting to the point. I know at this point it's still diverged
well,
pretty
right
far from
now,
what you're saying.
but my point is that I'm not really thinking in terms of like the because you're talking about like the Western sort of like Christian um notion of history, which actually arguably I would say it's the Western Christian understanding of history where we get the progress narrative of like we're progressing, we're advancing. Like that's actually something that we get out of Western Christianity. I'm saying I'm actually more thinking in terms of like what you see in Eastern religion, which is this notion of basically like human degeneration. This idea that, we're not starting out in some idyllic utopian state of perfection, but we're starting out in a state that is higher than where we've fallen to. This idea, you see this in Eastern religions like Hinduism and Buddhism of this yuga cycle, this idea that like we began thousands and thousands of years ago, we were up here, we were not a degenerated species, but over time we've degenerated as a species and we're heading into this thing, the Kali Yuga, this very like dark time when in every way imaginable our species is degenerated and there's just bad times ahead. It lacks the optimism of the Judeo-Christian viewpoint, but I would say that that's arguably closer to what I think is the reality, is this notion of basically degradation and degeneration of humanity. And the
Okay.
problem with those that are trying to dispute that is that the anthropological record seems to pretty strongly be in favor of what I'm saying. There has been a degeneration of the human species.
But by what metric is the degeneration?
Basically by the metric of just like genetic health, that like the health of the genome has become so weak, especially in modern times, and just the health of humanity, the number of pathogens out there, the number of diseases out there, the extent to which people are powerless to fight off the diseases, the extent to which they just become chronic aspects of our condition, the extent of mental problems, mental health issues, psychological problems, the extent to which we're increasingly just not able as a collective humanity to really, advance to the state that we're all capable of. We're living so far below our potential, so far below our capability, just as zoo animals are living so far below their capability on the zoo.
Okay, well, see, like, so, like, just let me to finish my point was just that I see like most religions have like this idea of like there's like this idea of returning to perfection. It seems like I don't know. It sounds like your idea seems to be something about a return to a more primitive type of society. Which I don't think is possible is one of my main problems with it. It's kind of the same issue I have with a lot of people that talk about climate change. They talk about how like how basically we're all fucked. There's nothing we can do about it, and so I was like then why are you even talking about it? Like there's like we can't do anything about it. We're all fucked. So it's too late to stop it. So with I don't see how there's any way we could go back to a more primitive state. So I'm failing to see
Eventually, it'll
failing
happen
to see
because
the
my point is that eventually the system, the fake, false system that we're living in right now, will crash, and then those few that survive will end up inevitably going back to a simpler life. That it'll just happen. But my point is the reason why I'm going out saying this stuff is to try and reduce the damage, because you're right, there's no good solution. There's no good solution. There's no way that we're not going to basically head towards the crash and the doomsday scenario. But as much as possible, we need to try and wake as many people up and get as many people to be aware that there is going to be a doomsday, and is very likely going to happen. You know, for younger people, it could very well happen within their lives. And let's be aware of that, and let's try to learn lessons from the societies that have done better than us to try to figure out where we go forward from here.
You know, it's really interesting, man, because like as much as me and you, I think we have some fundamental disagreements about like the actual way it's going to happen or like the reasons per se, but but in terms of what you're saying about like the fact that you feel like there is definitely a collapse coming, and the only thing we can do is try to wake as many, that is 100%. Like I said this to, I actually said this just 2 or 3 days ago, like to Jack. I was talking to Jack on Discord, and I said almost that word for word. I said almost the exact same thing to him. And this has been my overarching philosophy in life for most of the projects and everything I've ever tried to start. Was it was a phrase that I got off of like there was like the 60s attempted French Revolution that happened. There was a bunch of French Revolutionary posters I found a long time ago online. I thought the art was really interesting on, but one of them was just entitled "Save the Living First," and I've always like I kind of grabbed onto that as a as a really like I don't know, as a really meaningful philosophical motto of like, it's you can't save everybody. Like find the people that actually have the ability to be awake, the ability to actually think, and try to save as many of those people, pull as many of those people, because like there's no point trying to save everybody. It's trying to save the living first, and worry about what you can do about the rest, at some point later, because like there's so many people that the situation they're in, they're essentially already dead when that happens, right? So or and yeah, I do see that, and I do see. I mean, although I do think it's possibly part of a cycle that's possibly it's possibly not avoidable even if we did everything right. I mean, it could be something as simple as like the way the savannas work. Like the savannas like are engineered by nature to burn and regenerate every so many years. And if you try to stop that, if you try to stop the burning, if you try to stop the fires that naturally happen, then the savannas die. They literally fully die instead of like being burned down and then coming back more full the next time. Instead, like they stop living altogether. So like I do see like I see something in a principle in nature there. I'm not saying I have it figured out or anything. These are just thoughts that go through my head about this sort of thing about civilization all the time. And so I think it's really interesting how aligned we are on like that on those things. I see I guess like but I'm I'm having some not really issues, but my questions about what you're saying have a lot more to do with what's the utility and the focus on traditional hunter-gatherer cultures, just in the sense that just like is it just like kind of like a learning how to survive in that kind of a society? Is it like
I mean, it's learning what works. It's
teaching
learning
survival?
what is normative humanity, because right now we're abnormal humanity, and this is killing us. It's killing us on the inside. It's killing us on the outside. So we need to learn from what human nature really is. Because if you look at traditional societies, especially ones that have survived for a long time, you can figure out what actually works, what actually causes us to flourish the best, what actually causes us to survive, what actually causes humans to be at their peak level. And that's necessary at a time when human beings are doing the exact opposite of what's adaptive and what's functional and what's good, and they're suffering as a result.
It seems to me like human nature is very diverse, but what are some of the universal constants of it that you found?
I mean, there aren't
Work.
like total universal constants, just because ecology does have an impact on something might be adaptive in one ecology and not as adaptive in another ecology. Like there is a degree to which we're environmentally plastic, but I would say that certain things that across societies typically work better than other things. Like you can find there's certain ways that you could structure a society. There's certain ways you can pattern individual families, tribes, clans, whatever, that typically lead to more cooperation among their members, typically lead to less intertribal or intra-tribal conflict. There are certain ways that you can structure society. There's certain philosophies that you can adopt that will be more adaptive and that will allow your society to better meet the needs of its members. Psychologically, mentally, whatever. And there are a number of things that one can do to minimize maladaptive traits that lead to problematic human behaviors, and there are other things you can do that can maximize maladaptive things and lead to all sorts of problematic human behaviors.
What are some of the ways to structure and some of the maladaptive things that we could improve?
So the adaptive things that we could do is we can have a society that's based on basically small groups of people that know each other rather than faceless, suburbs full of people that don't know each other, that don't cooperate. We could have a society that's essentially cooperative, have family structures that essentially properly socialize children, have children's groups that essentially ensure that children are properly socialized and prepared for their roles as adults. And specifically, and this is one area where I think the West has struggled for at least 1,000 years, has been socializing men and women to be able to understand each other. Men and women have had a really hard time understanding each other because they've been raised basically in with like different gender roles, different expectations, and in different peer groups, and that's been a huge problem for the West for the last 1,000 years, and that's not something that a lot of other cultures have a struggle with. Um, and we can basically raise children to understand their adult responsibilities, to be able to communicate with adults, to be able to communicate across genders, to be able to communicate just in general, to be able to have basic survival skills, basic life skills, basic personality skills to the point where they're stoical and they're strong and they're able to face adversities and face challenges. We can have societies where the system itself, rewards actually adaptive behavior, like the ability to survive, like the ability to thrive in a traditional environment where you need self-sufficiency and self-reliance, as opposed to what our society does, which is just, reward like the loudmouth bullshitter. And I mean, these are just a few examples of things that we could do, things we can learn from traditional societies.
I definitely agree with community and the power of community. And I just don't know how practical that is for the West. Like the West is not going to fragment into small Dunbar number communities.
You mean it won't until it falls apart? My point is that eventually, when the fall comes, and it will, then that will end up happening.
I still think that could be a couple hundred years off, though. To be honest, I mean, like I've thought at times that it was becoming faster, but I think that I don't know. I don't see it happening that fast. But then again, when those kind of things happen, they do happen like so fast, like you don't even have time to notice. You barely have time to notice it's happening until it's already too late. So, I mean, I do understand that collapses tend to happen and it kind of cascades. It's like an avalanche, like it starts with like one little tiny little like sheet of snow rolling on the hill, and before you know it, you're covered in it. I get that, but um, I don't know. I don't. I just. I don't. And this isn't based on anything. You definitely have studied this and everything. So I'm not trying to debate bro you or anything like that. I'm just like I might. It's like literally a vibe type thing. I just don't feel from a my gut just doesn't feel like it's that close. But at the same time, I still think that it's close enough that there's nothing wrong with teaching and preparing about like I was thinking like if our little community that we have here, which we don't have that many members maybe in terms of like people that stream, like we got Jeff and me and you and Cascadian and and maybe TML and a few others that if you kind of look if you kind of put us all together and like thought of us as like a like a college sort of, like or like an
Machine
academic.
calls it a virtual caliphate or cyber
Okay.
caliphate.
I don't like the term caliphate, but okay. But if you thought of us as like a college, right? I could definitely because like I have a bad tendency like when I talk to people that like you're very focused on history and anthropology and that sort of thing, and I have a bad tendency to like to hear someone like you talking about sort of thing and think that well I don't see how that what you're saying applies to every single aspect of my life, and therefore and that's not the way we should be thinking of it. I think like I certainly realize like you if that was something that existed, if we were like all participating as like we were all professors in this thing, you would be you would be a really invaluable resource as a an anthropology slash history professor, someone who would actually teach these kind of things that people teach about survival and about those kind of the way that those kind of cultures work. I mean, that would be that'd be a beautiful, brilliant thing. That's kind of like that is kind of one of my dreams of life that I'll probably never get to fully achieve. But that's the kind of thing that I would I kind of like I kind of strive I kind of long to do is to try to create some sort of alternative educational type thing where if, like someone could actually get an education like to learn how to think, how to live, and how to and how
Well,
because
that's the
like
problem, though, is that the academy itself doesn't reward these sorts of things. The reason I'm not an anthropology professor is because if I were to become one, I would have to unlearn basically most of what I've learned. The
no,
field,
I
the field
know.
today is so corrupt.
I'm talking about one that doesn't exist. I'm talking about one that if I could create it, I was saying I would put you that you would be someone I would put as the head of the anthropology department or something. You see what I'm saying? I'm saying I would love to hear your classes about anthropology because I think you have a lot of really important things to say about that. That was just a side thought. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to derail. I just like I just that thought occurred to me and it I just thought it was I was just because I've been thinking about like the college school thing for a long time. I was like he would be the perfect person to teach like history and anthropology if I had my college, and that's what I was thinking. So I kind of derailed it and I didn't mean to. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I don't know. I'm just like the thing is that, and to me, it's actually something though that because this brings into my mind, something that I think is very disgusting about academia. As somebody who's been there on the inside, is that essentially like the current academic system punishes people that would actually try to find a practical use for this stuff.
Hmm.
Like I mean, I could have had a PhD in anthropology.
I know you
Um,
told me that the other day. Yeah.
if I were willing to become like another woke idiot. But the problem is
Yeah.
that that's what happened. Like that's what you have to be. Like it's the problem is that the system actually punishes people that try to have some sort of valuable, useful, practical application of these things because the system fears somebody like me. The system is terrified of somebody that is going to use knowledge to critique the system itself.
I mean, but if such an institution were to exist, I mean, and like the light chances of that ever happening are granted, especially from my considering like I'm sitting here like living on food stamps, so like it's not like I'm about to start a college or anything. But I'm just saying, but if such a system existed, like where you could teach it in a useful way, I mean, would you do that? Is that something you would do if you didn't have to like bend to the will of like traditional academia?
Yeah, I mean, I could see myself. Again, for I
Get a
did apply to
PhD
get
and
into
stuff.
one of these programs. I could see myself. I mean, honestly, like I don't even necessarily though respect the entire process, like even what it would have been 100 years ago. Like I don't think that credentials are the most important thing. I mean,
No, I don't
most
either.
most
I'm
of the
not.
best scholars have been just gentlemen scholars working
Yeah,
because
I
they
agree.
they were commissioned by some like rich guy to study a particular thing.
I completely agree. I mean, I wasn't talking about credentials. I was talking about like if I was talking about a fantasy situation. Once again, this is not something that's anything realistic. But I was saying in this fantasy situation, like if I had magically had access to all this money and I started a university and and I asked you to come teach anthropology like the way you want to teach it, would you do that, or is it something you wouldn't even want to teach at this point? You're just so like done with it. I'm just a curiosity question at this point. It has nothing to do with anything really, I guess.
I don't know because again, like the world that would represent would be so phenomenally, profoundly
Look at
different
you!
from the world
Look
that
at
we live
you!
in. That it's
Right. Sorry, my daughter was standing. I was trying to praise her for standing up on her own. No,
as
yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I do think that I think you have a lot. I think you have a lot of knowledge that's probably very valuable to teach and very would be very valuable for a lot of people to learn. It's just like I really do think that a book like trying to put a lot of your ideas into like a book like a thesis like book would be really useful because I'd like to it's something I mean I would read it if and like I said, I'd be happy to help you structure it and maybe do some editing, help you some editing on it if you
yeah. I
need
mean, I
help with that.
consider doing something like that. The only thing is because to me, especially with my current situation and how much is going on in my life, like I'm
Yeah,
really
I get
not.
that.
I really don't want to make a
I get that.
commitment to anything unless I can be sure that I'm actually going to have an impact. Like the idea that I could be wasting my time is not something that I'm going to be very patient with.
No,
This is
I
this
get
is
it.
why I shut down my YouTube channel basically is because I got the sense that the live streams I was doing were being more work than like I was working harder on them than what I was getting back in return. Which to me, especially given, like, because I have a full-time job in addition to this, like, that's not something I'm willing to do. I'm not just willing to, like, basically be a simp and basically just, like, sit there for begging my non-existent audience to notice my stuff. Like, I'm not that sort of person.
Yeah, no, I understand. Like, I mean, you won't. I don't think you've ever. We don't obviously beg on our channel. On well, not our channel. It's Jeff's channel. I'm sorry, Jeff. I don't mean to. I catch myself all the time saying calling it like our channel. I feel bad about that because it's not my channel.
Oh, you can say our channel.
Okay, well that's nice of you. I feel I don't I hate to like feel like I'm like stepping on anybody's toes. Anyway, but just yeah, like we don't do that kind of thing either. We like as Jeff said, we don't even put like I don't think we've ever used unless we're talking about people saying like and subscribe. I don't think we've ever said like and subscribe ever. So it's like that way like all the things you're supposed to do we're trying to figure out a ways to like grow it a little bit more and stuff like that. But I do think, I mean, the important thing I want to impart to you that I want to say to you, man, it's just like, I really do think that, like it's like I think we all have our roles in this whatever this is that we're building right now. I mean, I hope we're building something. And I know what you mean, but not want to waste your time. Believe me, I worked on music I worked on music hard for like 4 or 5 years. My SoundCloud's still up there, and like you can see it. And like Jeff uses like my music sometimes at the beginning and the end of the shows and stuff like that. And people have given me some nice compliments since then. From the music he's played and stuff like that, and it's been nice to hear. But I worked really hard on a lot of the music that I was putting together back then, and try to put it out there and try to just promote it, just to try to get views on it. I wasn't even trying to wasn't trying to sell it. I was trying to make money, just trying to get people to listen to it. And like, man, getting people to listen to a 3-minute song is let alone a live stream. Dear God, like it's like, I mean, it's like pulling teeth just to get somebody to listen to the little song you made and just to listen to it all the way to the end and just give you any kind of feedback and critique more than like it was okay, you know. Just like that's which is almost like worse than someone telling you they hated it. Like if someone tells me they hate the music, at least they get an emotional reaction. Whenever someone's just like, yeah, it was good. That's it's almost it's like a knife to the heart. If you work, you put your heart and soul into something, So like I know
Well,
I know
and
it's like
meanwhile, the people that don't try are the ones that end up like morons that don't know what the hell they're doing. Like you look at what's pop music today? It's all trash. It's absolute trash. Like people that lazy writing, people that don't bother, people that literally like. I think most of the pop songs that are on the radio today, they took at most maybe 5 minutes to write.
well, weirdly enough, they
When
actually
was
take a
it
lot.
good?
Weirdly enough, they take a lot more than that, and that's what makes it even more sad. That they actually take a lot more work than they ever should, because they crib so much from other songs. And they use so many samples and everything. They take tons of work to make also ultra mediocre music, and like they sound like they took 5 minutes to write. But I've known a couple people that worked that worked in music industry and stuff like that, and I've seen what goes into some of that stuff. And man, it's insane. Like the amount, like let's just look at any song off of any recent Beyonce album. You see how many songwriters are
I
on one
love her new
track.
album.
I really the one with like the weird dance one. I love Lemonade. Lemonade was good, but I didn't like the one after that. But anyway, that's just, anyway. But man, I'm not knocking to Beyonce though. My point was, you see how many songwriters are on in each individual track on one of her songs. It's insane. Like it's a list like this long of
But
just
partly she
songwriters.
went out of her way to credit every single person that even put a fingerprint on each track.
Right.
Most people, their credits are not going to be that extensive because they're not going to include every little person.
I know, but I'm just saying that still shows you how many people like made contributions.
But
to
pop is an
one song.
exhausted genre anyway. It's not a vital genre. But
Well, I mean, it still makes the most money, doesn't it? I guess out of music.
I don't know.
Does
any music make money? Like unless you're doing a Taylor Swift tour.
Touring is what makes money. I think if you're an independent musician, the best thing you can do is to record like an album worth of stuff so that you can go out and tour it and stuff like that, and make a fan base like that and sell merch. That's probably the best way you can make money doing music. But anyway,
you never know the impact you're going to have until you put in the time and effort. Like there's
yeah, I know.
There's not really a way to tell ahead of time, so you have to make the commitment.
I know
To see if it's going to have the impact.
I spent years before I did music writing spec scripts for screenplay, for movies and stuff like that. And I used to write all these spec scripts and send them out to people, and didn't get responses, and couldn't get any traction. I did finally get some traction with like this one director, and we worked on stuff for years and years, and all that came out of it was a couple of short films, and only one of them's even available that I can even show anybody. So I understand what you mean, but I know exactly where you're coming from. Where you're saying like, it's hard for you to want to commit your time and effort into something where you don't think you're gonna have an impact. I get it, man. I feel you, but at the same time, what Jeff said is absolutely right. It's just the way it is, though. We'll never know the impact we're going to have until we put that effort into it and make the thing. It's all about if you really have the passion for the thing, for the message, or for the thing you're trying to put out there, then you got to let that drive it. You got to make it almost for its own sake, and then hope that people resonate with it. And like, I mean, I did that with a lot of stuff, and people didn't resonate with it, and so like that's just the way it is. And like, it's something I have to deal with. But and it sucks every time. It's worse. It's way worse than getting rejected by a girl or something like that. Like putting your heart and soul, like working like on a track, like that one track on the thing, like that one Yodo that's on there, Jeff. I worked in that track, like I worked just on that track for like about, I don't know, like 3 months. That was like 3 months of like working every day on that track. I did all, I mean, every little bit of the vocals and everything. I poured over them and everything, and I still don't feel like it's it's all that close to being done. And used to be a lot longer. I edited it down, and all this stuff to it, and I got it to the point where I thought I felt like it was ready to put out there. It was ready to be, ready for people to hear it, and I played it for some people. I put it, I put out tweets and links, and I try to put out lines to see if I get any attention to it. And I think ultimately it garnered, like, I think I got 200 listens on SoundCloud. That was the peak of my reach for it. And whereas an article I threw together on for Craig.com about how the Cloak and Dagger movie from the 80s was a prequel to Fight Club, that got 2.5 million views. So, and it's just like, it's it's always like the stupid throwaway shit that actually gets the most attention, and it's so frustrating. But I still feel like it's worth fighting for, despite the fact that I've been burnt so many times. I still want to keep fighting, even though like I feel like I've been beat to shit so many times. Like, I don't know why, but like, yeah, I don't think it's just, don't give up, man. There's a reason that people like you and me and Jeff and all these people that we've met at this time, at this thing. And it's because I've seen it happen before. I've been in these places before. I've got the same vibe before when I've met these groups of people, and maybe it wasn't something that changed the world that happened, but good things happened out of it. And then eventually it ends, and like, it sucks when it ends, but I've always, anytime I've gotten that vibe, it's always something good, something positive has come out of it. Like, there's something that was positive for pretty much everybody involved. So I think
I
it's
will
worth
say,
worth
like, one thing that's possibly you guys should look out for in the future, although, the guy, no pun intended, has waffled a bit on the debate, but I'm supposed to go up against a guy that has more than 100,000 subscribers named Wheat
Right, yeah.
Waffles.
Wheat waffles, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you told me. Yeah.
Oh,
Now
when is that
he
going to
hasn't,
be?
he hasn't talked to me in a couple days, which is a bit of a
Oh,
downer sign. But we were supposed to go up and have a debate, and I'll see if that helps to reverse
you
fortune.
messaged him and he's not responding?
Yeah, well, I originally I sent him a super chat, and he said in response to the super chat that he was, because I basically sent a super chat that said, "Hey, I want to debate you." He said, "Yeah, I'd be fine with doing that." So then I messaged him on WhatsApp, and he didn't reply. So I don't know what's
Oh,
the story with all that. I mean, I don't really see what he has to lose going up against some nobody on YouTube. As a
I
as
don't
a
know.
big
I
as
don't
a
know
big
anything
name
about.
with again 150,000 subscribers. So how you get 150,000 subscribers is by basically telling a bunch of men to kill themselves because they're not
what?
good looking enough. Yeah, this is what this guy does. So basically this guy's amassed a really big successful YouTube channel by telling a bunch of men that they're ugly and they're doomed to be incels forever and they should all commit suicide. And he's actually
He's an
How
incel
is he
tuber.
still
Oh,
on
okay.
YouTube?
that's the
Incel.
thing. Like he's actually like indirectly inspired like a big mass shooting. Like if you look, there's a guy named Professor Waffles who was inspired by Wheat Waffles, and he ended up shooting up more people than any other shooter in UK history.
I have heard of the Professor Waffles thing. I didn't know they're related. I wouldn't put those two things together.
But this guy, not only is he not been thrown off YouTube, but he's actually seems to be rewarded by the algorithm for doing this.
The real question is, why does that appeal to men? Why do these incel preacher types that preach at guys telling them how worthless they are and all that shit like that, and like don't offer any prescriptions or solutions, I mean, at least I get with Andrew Tate. At least like he says, like, if I don't get Andrew Tate, but I'm saying that compared to somebody like that, like, I mean, like, I get that he at least gives like a message that, if you work out and do this or have money, at least something that you want will happen. Like, I think it's bullshit, but I still think that it makes more sense than someone who literally is just like you say. I mean, if that's really is it really is as simple as what you're saying? Is he just telling these guys that they should just give up and kill themselves, kind of thing? Like, I
I
don't
mean, he
understand
doesn't go
the
out
point.
right and say, "Yeah, everybody should kill themselves," because that would run into trouble with the algorithm. But he has this thing where he constantly just says, "It's over." Like that's one of his big slogans. Is like if you're he rates men, and by the way, so he pays guys so he can tell them whether they're hot or ugly, and you can make of that what you will. But like he basically tells guys, if you get 5 or below on my rating list, then quote unquote it's over. Um, and guys pay for this. Guys pay to be told basically like what trash they are by this guy.
He
And
just come here for free.
It's a lot of masochists. It sounds
Is he
like.
gay? Like, how
uh,
would he know?
allegedly no,
Oh,
no. But what is he claims that he has the science where he can just break down, um, like based on your bone structure and your jawline and this and that. Like,
he sounds like a
well,
grifter.
Yeah,
yeah.
it sounds like
Well, I
a grifter
mean,
to me.
Just go find
But
a gay guy to tell you what your chances are.
or a woman for that matter.
Yeah,
Ask a
or
no.
woman.
But see, the thing is, he claims that women are all dishonest and they're all gonna lie and tell you that
well,
they're
how much?
the
Let's just
ones
go
who
get his
are.
audience because we'll just do that for free. I'll tell people my opinion of him for free.
No,
You're just
actually, I
gonna
mean
you-
that could break
you're
him
gonna
if
try
if if
you're gonna
some
try
if somebody would do that for free instead of charging like $20 or
Right,
whatever.
right here. I will do it for free. They he does it live, like they come on his show and he tells them,
No,
or is
he
this like
what
a
he does
private
is he has
service?
like a service. He has a website where you can sign up and you can have ratings. And by the way, and if you're lucky enough, that he'll go take your picture and he'll go out to like colleges in the UK and he'll go up to like random women and show them pictures and ask them to rate 1 out of 10, like how hot you are, and then he'll put YouTube videos of it.
Wow. I know, Jeff. You could do you could do a whole thing. You remember Scott Thompson's buddy guy thing from Kids in the Hall? You could do like a whole like over the top gay waiter type thing, and do like the whole like like the or like the dude from the what was the straight queer eye for the straight guy. You could do an over the top gay persona like to tell guys to give them to do their ratings. It's like a skit. I don't
I
know.
love
Maybe
giving
it's a,
people my opinion of. I will. Yeah, I can't believe this guy is like people are
well, I know,
paying
but I
for
mean,
this.
I mean, that would be. I mean, just doing it as yourself. It could come across a little mean. I don't know. I mean, you could
Anybody
be
that wants to come on this stream and get an honest
roasted.
opinion about something, come on, hop on.
I mean, there
No
are
charge.
entire very popular subreddits where all they are is they're called rate me subreddits. There's many different ones where people go on there and they post a picture and like it's just like or roast me subreddits too. And like they post a picture and they just tell people in the comments to do their worst. To tell them what rate them either rate them from a 1 to 10 or and tell them what's wrong with them or what looks right about them or to roast them and call them names and stuff like that. It's very popular. I don't understand why. I don't get it,
I wonder if it's a
but it is.
generational thing.
I don't know. It's like we have a generation of masochists, or maybe it's one of those things like they say about like the
Well,
trans thing. So like there's always been this many masochists, but people haven't been felt comfortable enough to come out and admit it
like
until
it's
now.
hard to get a true like because everything's likes and you can fake all of that. So if all your friends like your posts and tell you what you want to hear, it's hard
Yeah.
to know, like get a critical evaluation about yourself.
Well, what's interesting though. Somebody I'll have to look up the guy's name. I don't remember off the top of my head, but he was on Edward Dutton's stream about a year ago. He actually did like a study of people that are on incel forums, and he found that bizarre sort of way this black pill despair stuff is a cope, and that these people actually find a certain degree of comfort in being told that it's over and they're doomed and they should kill themselves, and they actually get much more angry and much more emotional if you tell them no, actually, like if you work on yourself and you try, then you get like it's a bizarre sort of like, it's almost like their psychology is the opposite of what it is for
No,
the
yeah, I
ordinary
get that.
person.
I see it. I get it. I took me as soon as you said that settling, that makes sense. Yeah, it's like because like they already suspected about themselves, and they already feel like they already feel like they've already convinced themselves it's true. So they want someone. It's the same with the trans thing. It's they want validation. They want external validation for their psychosis. They've convinced themselves that they are hideous and they will never, and they've built an identity around being the guy that will never get laid, and therefore they want someone out there to confirm, to affirm that identity. It makes perfect sense. I mean, like I don't know why that didn't occur to me before, but it's of course that's what it is. It's not for them. It's not painful or anything. It's actually something that actually it makes them feel better because it gets them a dopamine hit because it's finally someone is confirming the thing they think to themselves. So that gives them like a feeling of relief to a degree because like now they know it really isn't their fault. This is just the way they are. That's what it is. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm
It's
thinking back because, like there's been times in my life when I've been, depressed and things like, and when I could think and it's not been for years, but 10 years ago, say, or 11 years ago, I had, depressive episodes. And to me, during those episodes, the thing that pissed me off the most would have been if people were telling me, oh, it's all right. The world isn't really a bad place. Like for a lot of people,
sure,
when they're
sure,
going
sure.
through that comes off as like really tone deaf and really like bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because like you get in this like this that when you get in this everyone gets in those self pity states where it's like no matter what anybody says, it's like you don't know how it feels, you don't know how I feel right now, kind of thing, and therefore anything that somebody says that contradicts the way you're feeling is going to seem like an attack. I know I've seen that. I mean, I think we've all been there at some point or another. You know, I think just about every person I know, and I think I've seen go through that to some degree before, but um, yeah, so I mean, everybody wants some degree of affirmation, even for negative things, at some point in their life, I suppose. But it becomes like this. It comes like a psychopathy at a certain point of or maybe it's the wrong word, but just like this, or maybe the pathological kind of need to have people to confirm for them. Um, like I think there's people out there probably do the same thing with being fat or being this or that. Like they want people to tell them how fat they are. They want people to tell them how this they are. It's like they have things that they have these ideas in their head that they have obsessed over, and they are convinced that define them and make them who they are, and are the reasons that they aren't successful. The reason I'm not successful is because I'm ugly, or I'm this, or I'm that, or it's because I'm this way, and everybody else thinks I'm this way. So if you have people, so what you want to do is find a community that will just constantly affirm the thing that you want to hear, so that way you feel like you have justification to keep believing that, right? I mean, that's got to be the psychological mechanism there. And
Yeah,
I'm not. I mean,
and that's what this researcher found. I wish I could remember his name. I could look it up
no.
at some point. But like the thing to me is that, and I understand that, but at the same time, the reason why I'm wanting to go up against this guy and have a debate with him is because he's doing a whole lot of damage. Because
Oh,
what he's doing is
absolutely. Yeah,
he's
I think that.
taking people that maybe aren't as far gone, and he's like pushing them into that point. And he's doing very palpable damage, because there's like something like 15 people fewer currently alive in the UK because of his message. I mean, at least, and this is only talking about the people that got shot up. Who knows how many people have been driven to kill themselves that haven't even been reported on
Right.
because of this guy.
Yeah, it's seriously like I don't know. I'm just thinking like, yeah, you absolutely should go up against it. Yeah, because like I don't think that the affirmation culture, as I guess you would call it, or not you would call it, but I guess that would be the term for it, is got to be one of the most toxic things that we have going on. I mean, of course, I mean, a lot of it comes from wokeism, but just as this whole affirmation culture mentality thing, where everyone needs to be affirmed about everything all the time. They need everyone else to tell them the thing that they think in their head is the truth. I mean, from trans people to being to You know, like the one thing about like for gay people, I've never seen a gay person that needed anyone to tell them they were gay, right? You know, like
Oh.
right?
I mean, the thing
It's
is
like
that it's obvious that homosexuality is real, no matter what, whether you're homophobe or pro gay or whatever. Like, I haven't met anybody who believes that like homosexuality is fake. You know what I mean?
right, yeah. I mean, I guess that's what I guess. Hold on, let me see if it's adaptable said my mic volume is too low. Let me see if I can turn up some. Let me know if that's any better. Adaptable. I can't. I can only it sounds like a normal volume to me, so I couldn't tell. Um, yeah. I mean, like it's just like I can't even.
I
I've never
thought
felt. I mean, everybody wants. I mean, everybody wants some degree of like affirmation or some sort of like they want people to like tell them like they did a good job or something like that every now and then. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's like this identity affirmation type thing, and it's really weird when the identities get to be so negative and so destructive. It's like somebody that. It's like somebody who it's like if somebody has like that it gets an idea in their head that they want to kill themselves, and so they look for they go, and I think there are actually communities like this. There are communities out there that where people will go so that other people will tell them, yes, you should kill themselves. You kill yourself. And I think that's like horrific. And I think I want to say I saw a YouTube video about that or something like that. Some did a YouTube essay on it, and like that's where this whole mentality has headed. And like what do we do at that point? I mean, like what do you do? I mean, how do you talk to somebody? I mean, like this is like these people have a psychosis, really. Like it's no different than somebody believing that the CIA planted planted tiny spiders in their brain or something like that. Like I mean, like it's a delusion, and a delusion is a deeply held belief. It's not something you can't just like reason them out of it. Like it's one of the hardest things to break in that sort of state. So I mean, like, what do you do in your opinion? Like, I mean, what's your plan there
I
for
mean,
like that
my
audience?
plan, if hopefully this debate actually ends up panning out, like my number one priority, because there's certain people that I know I can't reach. A lot of people, because this guy does debates all the time, and his fanboys, they get powered up by like raging against whoever his opponent is, no matter how successful they are at actually defending their position against him. But my point, like the reason I'm trying to do this debate is because I recognize that a lot of people that watch this are people that are not Wheat Waffles fanboys yet. I mean, like I'm trying to reach the people that haven't gone down the rabbit hole but are in danger of going down the rabbit hole. The people that have already gone down the rabbit hole, if somehow I can make somebody like that see the light, that would be obviously the ideal, but I don't actually expect that that's very likely to happen. I'm more thinking about the people that are, especially like the younger people, the people that are like teenagers that are maybe having whatever problem their girlfriend rejected them or something like that, or they can't find a girlfriend, and they're they're going on the internet and they're looking up videos about like why can't I get a girlfriend or something, and they're in danger right now. They found out that this guy exists. They're in danger of falling down that rabbit hole. They're not there yet, but I'm trying to deal with the people that are fit that description, because those are the people that are like most in danger of falling down the rabbit hole, but they're also the people that are most likely to potentially get themselves rescued from that. If I can get people on my side that are already down the rabbit hole, ideally that would be, the perfect scenario, but I don't actually realistically expect that there's very many Wheat Waffles fanboys that are going to react with anything but horror and anger to what I have to say.
Well, I mean, I think the important thing with like that, I don't think, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think you're a very reasonable person, and so I'm not saying that like I have any reason to expect you would be too abrasive or anything like that with those people. But I mean, but seriously, with people in that kind of state, though, you have to you're gonna it's gonna have to like be a really delicate balance between being gentle and being like being firm. It's like about the things, because like if you're just aggressive, then they're just gonna tune you out entirely, and you're just gonna it won't go anywhere. But if you're too gentle, then they'll think you're weak. So you have to find some kind of middle ground where you can be strong and firm, and yet at the same time empathetic to their positions. And it's such a it's a
Well,
such
I
a
will say
tightrope
one
to
thing.
walk.
I don't think I'd have a problem with like being too aggressive against Wheat Waffles, because although as toxic and dangerous as his ideology is, I will say that he's not like, generally speaking, if I'm in a debate, I match the energy I'm given, and he's not somebody that's like a blood sports asshole. You know what I mean? Like he does have, he does sit back and have very reasonable debates. He is very well. He's an Englishman, so he's got the like English stiff upper lip sort of attitude. So generally, like, I don't think I'd have a problem with that. Like, to me, the only time when I would get like overly aggressive in a debate, and this has happened before, is when like I'm just like in a debate with somebody who's a complete utter douchebag, like
Like a Lumatomy and TV types, that sort of thing.
yeah, like somebody like that. And to be fair, I've not really even had like a debate with Illumitami. I have sort of with Toilet Bowl Earth.
Nobody
you don't have debates with them. You don't have debates with them. You get into a space where they're speaking and you get screamed over for however long until they stop. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is where I do become, a jerk when I'm dealing with somebody like that. And I've dealt with people like that on like Discord and things like that. Like I've talked to people that are just like really intellectually dishonest and really bad faith. Yeah, I don't have much patience for that. But the thing with like if you're going to not bring that sort of energy, I'm not going to bring that sort of energy either. Like I'm only blood sportsy against the people who themselves are blood sportsy. Or if somebody just like straight up pulls some shit I was on a debate on the Modern Day Debate Discord, actually the only one I've ever been on because I didn't go back after that, but where like the guy I was going up against, I didn't have a problem with him. He was civil and we were having a good time, but then the moderator started going behind my back and bashing me in the chat, which to me is the most disgusting thing a mod can do. And at that point I just,
oh my god.
yeah, at that point, I paused I was in the middle of my rebuttal. And I paused the rebuttal just to say, I called this guy out. By the way, you fucking suck. You're the worst mod I've ever had. And of course, at that point, he immediately threw a hissy fit because he'd been caught. He's called administration. The whole thing was an incredibly unpleasant experience where to me, it just showed that like these people are just so weak and they're so scared of what I have to say that they have to pull these shenanigans. I don't know. I can't think of a better explanation for that.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, I really wish you the best of luck with if the debate happens. I really wish you the best of luck with it. I could totally. I think what I was trying to say a little bit earlier too, and just to like, and I'm not saying I'm not saying I think you seem like you do find a debate type space and stuff like that. But I don't know. I feel like the kind of message you have really does lend itself more to almost lecture type stuff than it does to like I mean, sometimes having some degree of conversation, some back and forth is good with good faith interlocutors. But I think that the kind of stuff the stuff you have to say generally, I feel like I don't know that it's going to translate great to like like any kind of like real hard debate type stuff, because I feel like the stuff you have to say really does take a lot of thought to process. It's not simple. It's not as simple as just like this is right, this is wrong. It's like you have there's something a little more nuanced going on there. So I just think you got to be. I really think that that right now for you, my hope for you, man, is just that you really find like the medium that expresses your message.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that I basically agree with you. The only reason why I'm trying to do what I'm doing is that, for better or worse, I'm finding that to the extent that I can reach people, it's through doing this. Like,
no, yeah, I get that totally. I mean, that's it's kind of. I mean, I kind of stumbled into. I started out with the intention of starting doing live streaming like back a few years back, and I got all this equipment and all this stuff, and all this stuff happened. My life fell apart, blah blah blah. And I didn't have any intention of really trying to start doing it again, but I just kind of fell into it again with like I did one stream with Jeff, and then I went on another one a little while later, and then I didn't get on any streams for a long time, and then suddenly I was like doing it every day with Jeff now. So and I really enjoyed doing it and everything, but it wasn't something I really set out to do, or at least it's not at this point. And I don't know if it's I haven't really figured out my entire vision for like what I'm trying to do either. But I really respect the fact that you have a cognizant and like a coherent kind of philosophy that you're trying to impart, and I think that's something respectable, because there's not a lot of people that do. A lot of people are just kind of bullshitting their way from one little vignette to the next, and I really appreciate to hear from someone who has thought out their ideas as much as you have. I don't know. I guess, I mean, if you guys need to keep going, that's you guys want to keep talking.
No,
You and
I
Jeff
have
can.
to wrap up soon because I have something
Yeah,
in a little while. And
yeah,
I have to make sure I eat before that.
yeah. That's the same thing I was gonna say. I've got to go. So I really have enjoyed the conversation, man. Is there any other name I can call you besides TCPS or something? And just like like, can you give me like a fake? You don't have to give me a real name, but give me like a fake like nickname or something for you.
Oh boy.
I'm
That you know what? I'd have to think about that. Creating like an incognito name. How about Mike Oxlong?
It just needs to be one name. I don't need a last name. I was just gonna say, like, I mean,
All right, Mike.
Okay, Mike is fine. That's fine. I just like I just started calling you Trad a couple of times. That sounds weird somehow. So I didn't want to start calling you Trad, and and TCPS just sounds like I'm referring to an internet protocol. So I just wanted to have a name I could refer to you as. So it's nice talking to you, Mike. Yeah. So and of course, once again, Jeff, it is always a pleasure. What's the tomorrow plan? Tomorrow's Monday, right? So
Well, I have us down for 2:00 your time every day, 7 days a week.
2:00 here, 2:00 tomorrow.
And then
Okay.
we can some days we can do an evening stream too.
All right, 2:00, and we decided definitely you're doing True Detective season 2 starting on Tuesday, right?
That's up in the air. I'll have to get with Emerald.
Okay.
I'll keep you posted.
If we don't do that one, one of those others I suggested, or Utopia, I would definitely. Utopia is fairly short too. If there's only a total of 14 episodes, I think, the whole series, so it's not that terribly long to get through. We could get through if we did two a week
We'll
on that one.
definitely do True Detective next. I'm just not sure if it'll be this Tuesday.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So we might skip a week, but I'll let you know.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, once again, nice talking to you, Mike. Nice talk to everybody, and have a great night, guys. I'll talk to you soon.
I'll see you tomorrow, 2:00. Take care. Okay. Yeah, we're going to start streaming regularly every day, 2 p.m. Central. In fact, I'm going to set it up after this. Okay, let me find some music to go out on. How about the Ducks? You two, Adaptable. Good to see you as always. Have a good rest of your Sunday. Do something fun or relax. And we'll be here tomorrow at 2:00 Central. I'll see you then.